Chapter 50-72. In the Golden Warship, an old man's face was ghastly pale. He was the city governor of the Golden City and the owner of the Golden Warship. Originally, he did not want to hand over the people as Inwan Guang had instructed him to protect the people of the Silver Moon clan. However, he had no choice but to hand them over. Come here. The giant looked down at the people of the Silver Moon clan and waved his hand to grab them. Mercy! Mercy! The people of the Silver Moon clan begged for mercy, but it was useless. In the end, they disappeared into the giant's palm. Linling, I have handed them over. I will take my leave now. Seeing that the giant had captured the people of the Silver Moon clan, the voice of the city governor of the Golden Warship sounded again. However, this time there was a hint of coldness in the voice. Then the Golden Warship turned around and left. However, it had not gone far when a giant hand grabbed it. No matter how the Golden Warship flew, it could not escape from the giant hand. Linling, what do you want? The city governor of the Golden City was furious. He had given the people he wanted. What else did Linling want? 800 years ago, Linling's entire clan had been killed. It had nothing to do with him. Come out! Linling shouted. I won't come out. The city governor of the Golden City did not dare to come out. He was completely afraid of the giant. You won't come out? Linling nodded. He held the Golden Warship in his hand and punched it repeatedly. The Golden Warship was on the verge of breaking. Stop! Stop! I will come out! I will come out! After a while, the city governor of the Golden City finally gave in. As the city governor of the Golden City, he had an innate love for gold. It was like his wife and lover. Previously, Linling had torn his golden boat apart, and his heart was already bleeding. Now Linling was still unwilling to give up. If he allowed this to continue, not a single piece of his gold would be left. Linling. At the same time, an old man in a golden robe appeared. He was tall and neatly dressed. His beard and hair were combed neatly, and he was full of dignity and arrogance. Of course, his dignity and arrogance turned into fear when he faced Linling. Tell me who attacked me back then? Linling looked down at the old man and asked coldly. I can't say that. Linling, I have my principles. I will never say what I have promised others, unless I am dead. The old man's expression changed and he hurriedly covered his mouth. He had already offended Inwan Guang. If he revealed the people from back then, wouldn't he offend even more people? Then you can die. Linling's large hand immediately grabbed over, forming a vortex. His physical strength was incomparably terrifying. Don't, I'll tell you. The elder roared. I know of the Middle Prime ancestor. He is the city lord of the Middle Prime city. He was the one who led the Silver Moon clan to hunt you down. There is also the 5 spirit prophets. He was the one who suggested killing your family and friends to force you out. There is also the green-robed elder. The Green Elder, he betrayed your family and friends, causing them to be captured by Inwan Guang. There is also the Rotten Race. However, they arrived later and stopped the people who wanted to save you. I only know so much about the big shots. There are too many other small shots. I really can't remember them. Linling Guang's expression did not change, but he remembered these names. Middle Prime Patriarch? He remembered that he had been there not long ago. If he had known, he would have captured the Middle Prime Patriarch alive. As for the 5 spirit prophets, he also remembered them. However, when they were killed, he only remembered their faces. He was not familiar with them. As for the green robe ancestor, he had never seen him before. However, when he thought about how he had betrayed the Yellow Emperor, he had to die. I'm done. Can we go now? Seeing that Linling didn't speak, the old man whispered. Then, seeing that Linling didn't speak, he wanted to turn around and leave. Wait, hand over your Kwafu Sunchasur boots. However, at this moment, Linling spoke again. Hearing this, the old man smiled bitterly and slowly handed over a pair of boots. He had obtained this pair of boots by chance. He knew that it was one of the 10 great chaotic divine artifacts in the universe and was extremely precious. However, it was extremely difficult to activate the speed of this pair of boots. 800 years had passed, and he had only activated a small part of it. He didn't expect that Lin Ling would snatch it back before he could even touch it. A pair of boots floated towards Lin Ling and finally disappeared into Lin Ling's legs. Then Lin Ling looked deeply at the old man. In the end, he didn't kill him and turned around to leave. What strength he gave me even more pressure than Yin Guang. It seems like if the Silver Moon race doesn't send out the Silver Moon race, they won't be able to stop Lin Ling. In these 800 years, where did Lin Ling go? How did his strength increase so much? Watching Lin Ling gradually disappear, the old man finally let out a sigh of relief. It was as if he was watching a ferocious beast leave. He looked into the distance, knowing that the city of myriad gods was about to descend into chaos. Time passed quietly, and another day passed. However, on this day, the entire city of myriad gods was abuzz with rumors. In every city of myriad gods, powerful gods were talking about the Lin Ling from 800 years ago. Even if it was the first time many of them had heard of Lin Ling's name. However, they had heard of the great battle 800 years ago. Most importantly, even a powerful city like the Holy Sea City was sealed. This was proof of how sensational this battle was. On this day, the wind was calm and the waves were calm. On this day, the atmosphere in the city of myriad gods was stifling. On this day, it was also the third day. Not only was the city of myriad gods oppressive, but it was also filled with the smell of blood and slaughter. It was as if there was going to be a massacre today, and countless gods would fall. It was as if the end of the world was coming. Perhaps in the next 10 million years, when talking about the third floor of the Tao Pagoda and the city of myriad gods, no one would forget the name Lin Ling. This white-haired demon that seemed to have come back from hell, sweeping through the city of myriad gods. That head of white hair sent chills down one's spine. On this day, Lin Ling had the Yellow Emperor and the others return. They floated in the sky, looking into the distance. At this moment, everyone held their breaths. As they looked into the distance, the scenes from 800 years ago flooded their minds. At that time, they had just arrived at the third floor of the Tao Pagoda. Although they were cautious, they were also filled with endless expectations for the future. Unfortunately, what greeted them was a nightmare. The Silver Moon race summoned the entire city of myriad gods to encircle and annihilate them. In front of everyone, they were killed like dogs without mercy. Their blood flowed all over the earth. Their lives were worthless. This was everyone's nightmare. However, now that they had returned, they wanted to use the blood of the Silver Moon race to dye this land red and wash away the nightmare of that year. Yin Guang, it's my turn. Among the crowd, Lin Ling looked at the Yellow Emperor and the others, then nodded and strode into the distance. At this moment, the Yellow Emperor, Lei Gong, and Yuer Sakura, and Treasure God Nanwu Fengyu were all silent. On the contrary, they were incomparably excited. They had come for revenge, to make the Silver Moon race pay with blood. Chapter 5073. On the Silent Land, only a few 100,000 people were flying over in a grandiose manner. The entire third level seemed to have quieted down. Countless people looked up at the sky and saw 100,000 people flying past. They all knew why these people were going. How crazy, he's going to attack the Great Ocean Holy City. Can Lin Ling fight against Yin Guang? I don't know if he can, but back then Yin Guang brought the Holy City to kill Lin Ling. It was also a big scene. Perhaps this is Lin Ling's tit for tat. Everyone was talking about it. A moment later, 100,000 people appeared on the shore of the sea, looking at the ancient holy city from afar. Splash! Around the ancient city, the seawater churned and rose into the sky, as if it knew that a strong enemy was coming. Stop! Lin Ling shouted, and everyone behind him stopped in their tracks. They stared at the holy city, their emotions surging like the waves in the distant sea. They're finally back. The Yellow Emperor sighed in his heart and said lightly. This simple sentence represented everyone's feelings. That's right, they were back. They had come back from the underworld and found the enemy who had killed them all those years ago. It was easy to say, but if it had been someone else, who would have thought that they could come here alive and kill their enemy with their own hands? At the same time, countless people in the holy city looked up at the sky. At first, they were silent, but gradually they became fearful. Their expressions were complicated. When they saw the white-haired man with their own eyes, they were finally sure that everything that had happened was related to the white-haired man. Lin Ling was indeed back. Lin Ling, A cold voice resounded in the holy city of the ocean. A burly old man rushed out of the holy city of the ocean with 8 experts. Now, in the entire holy city, they were the only ones who could break out of the seal. "In Guang, how have you been? I Lin Ling am back." When Lin Ling saw the domineering old man, he was inexplicably excited. Lin Ling knew that he was killed by Yin Guang, but Yin Guang wasn't willing to give up. He entered the netherworld to continue torturing Lin Ling. If Lin Ling hadn't obtained the memories, perhaps these days of torment would have never ended. "Lin Ling, how did you escape from the underworld? How did you come back alive?" "Impossible, this is simply impossible." Yin Guang stared coldly at Lin Ling with a ferocious expression. Even though Lin Ling had died once, he still couldn't suppress his anger when he saw Lin Ling again. His son Yin Wentian had been killed by Lin Ling. Even now he still couldn't get over it. However, before he could completely vent, Lin Ling had already killed his way back. He couldn't understand how Lin Ling did it. "Yin Guang, since we're here today, let's not talk about empty words. I'll give you a chance. If you commit suicide and give me your soul, I'll spare the lives of your entire clan," Lin Ling said indifferently. Back then, in order to force Lin Ling out, Yin Guang had continuously killed his family and friends. Now Lin Ling was also giving Yin Guang a chance. As long as he committed suicide, Lin Ling wouldn't kill his entire clan. "In your dreams," Yin Guang laughed loudly. "I've traversed the universe. When have I ever committed suicide?" "Lin Ling, it's hard to say who will live and who will die today." "Yin Guang, I knew you would say this, so I never intended to let your entire clan go from the beginning. Today, the entire Silver Moon clan on the 3rd floor of the Dao Pagoda will die." Lin Ling sneered. His laughter was extremely cruel, with a touch of madness and bloodthirst, just like a madman. "The entire clan will die." When his voice floated out, the 3rd floor of the Dao Pagoda suddenly became silent. Everyone felt a chill in their souls. The entire clan was going to be annihilated. This killing intent was too crazy. "Ah, great-grandfather, save me." Suddenly, there was a scream of horror from the Holy Ocean City. In the streets and alleys, the bloodline of the Silver Moon clan was holding their heads and groaning in pain. Their souls were being attacked by the universe's 3 extreme breaks. "Nyaner, I'll see you." Yin Guang's expression changed drastically. He found that those who were screaming in pain were his descendants, the juniors that he doted on greatly. He wanted to save them, but before he could rush over, the Silver Moon clan members stopped moving. Their souls had scattered. Yin Guang was like a madman. He rushed over to the dead clan members, hugged them and shook them constantly. Unfortunately, they were all dead. How terrifying. There were gods in the Holy Ocean City who weren't from the Silver Moon clan. When they saw this scene, they trembled in fear. "Yin Guang, it's painful. Back then I was in such pain. Today I'll let you experience what I felt back then. This is an eye for an eye." Outside the Holy Ocean City, Lin Ling's crazy voice came. Under his voice, more Silver Moon clan members fell, their souls constantly collapsing. "Jingtong, Xiaolu!" Yin Guang screamed at the top of his lungs. These clan members fell not far away from him. They hugged their heads and groaned in pain. Clan leader. Grandfather. They stared at Yin Guang, their eyes full of pleading. In the end, they fell one by one. Their souls scattered into ashes. However, Yin Guang couldn't save them. Yin Guang couldn't break through the universe's 3 extremes. Yin Guang's whole body trembled, his eyes bloodshot. Now, he finally experienced that kind of pain. It turned out that there were many things in life that were more important than life. For example, his descendants and his family. When these important things fell in front of him, that kind of feeling was worse than death. He finally understood how Lin Ling felt back then when his hair turned white in a single day. Clan leader. At this time, another voice came from outside the Holy Ocean City. It was the Silver Moon clan members who were wandering outside and were caught by Yihan. Jisher Yin Ting. Yin Guang's face was gloomy as if he had just woken up from his sorrow. He rushed out of the Holy Ocean City and gritted his teeth. More than 200 Silver Moon clan members appeared around Lin Ling. Among them were Yin Ting and Zisher, whom Yin Guang doted on the most. Since Yin Wentian's death, Yin Guang had been looking for spiritual sustenance. In the end, he entrusted the pain of his son's death to Easy Shi and Yin Ting. Because these two were the most like his son. They will also die in front of you. Yin Guang, if you don't kill yourself, they will die with you, just like how you killed me back then. Lin Ling smiled at Yin Guang, but his smile was cruel and merciless. No! Yin Guang suddenly thought of something. His mood that had just calmed down became chaotic again. As soon as he finished speaking, more than 200 Silver Moon clan members hugged their heads as if they were facing the most painful thing in their lives. Moreover, Lin Ling didn't kill them all at once. He was slowly torturing their souls. One should know that the pain of the physical body could never be compared to the pain of the soul. It was so painful that they wished they had never lived. Chapter 50-74. Blame yourself for being part of the Silver Moon clan. Lin Ling looked at Yin Ting and the others coldly. These people might be innocent, but weren't you and the others innocent? Therefore, there was no such thing as innocence. It was just that every injustice had its perpetrator and every debt its debtor. They could only blame themselves for being related to Yin Guang. Kill him. At this moment, Yin Guang suddenly shouted. Several gods rushed toward Lin Ling. They all had the power of a Saint Giant Universe god. They burst out with powerful godly energy, and their eyes were red. They wanted to kill Lin Ling on the spot. Pung! Lin Ling snorted and used his talent fusion and Penga's body at the same time. He punched out to resist the joint attack of several people. Hong! The sky above Ocean Saint City exploded, and a terrifying power swept across like a collision between two universes. But after the storm, Lin Ling was still floating in the sky, safe and sound. Instead, two of the gods were killed by Lin Ling. What? Yin Guang's eyes were trembling. Lin Ling was so strong? He stared at Lin Ling, who was fighting against a few gods, and found that Lin Ling was extremely calm. He didn't use any divine ability at all. He just relied on his powerful fists to kill the strongest gods in the holy city of the ocean. One had to know that those were giant universe gods with 4,000 units of godly power. Even if Yin Guang fought several Saint Giant Universe gods, he might not be able to do it so easily. Pung pung pung. While Yin Guang was still in shock, the strongest giant universe gods in Ocean Saint City all died. In the city of myriad gods, the eyes of all the great beings were trembling. Lin Ling had become too strong. With his current power, he could definitely do whatever he wanted on the third level of the Dao Tower. Yin Guang, is this all you've got? After Lin Ling killed those powerhouses, he said coldly, since that's the case, you can only watch as your clan members continue to die. After saying that, his soul kept pouring out, controlling the three extreme breaks of the universe and harvesting all the lives of the Silver Moon clan. Clan leader, save me. I don't want to die, I don't want to die. A large number of painful voices came from Ocean Saint City. The voices were like waves, rising and falling one after another. The entire city seemed to have turned into a city of pain. Xiao! 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 Following that, a large number of corpses floated out and gathered in the sky. Together with the 200 corpses around Lin Ling, a large area of corpses was a mass grave. These were all people of the Silver Moon clan. Majestic and domineering. Using countless corpses to take revenge was shocking. In Yin Guang's eyes, it was like countless swords stabbing into his heart. Yin Guang was stunned. He looked up to the sky and roared. Then he burst into tears. Xiao! All of the clan members were dead. There were so many of them that he couldn't even count them. Moreover, they died right in front of him. Xiao Xiao Yu. Xiao 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 Xiao. He Xiao of Xiao the Yellow Emperor and the others coldly looked at this scene. This was giving them a taste of their own medicine. They had no sympathy at all. Didn't Yin Guang do the same to them in the past? After they died, Yin Guang was still unwilling to let them go. He had only himself to blame for his fate. Lin Ling. At this time Yin Guang, who was on the verge of breaking down, finally looked at Lin Ling 800 years ago. You killed my son, so I killed you to avenge him. It was only right and proper. Today, in order to avenge my son, you actually destroyed countless bloodlines of the Silver Moon race and made me the Silver Moon race. Sinner, you are so cruel. Ha ha ha. Lin Ling laughed out loud. His laughter was crazy and cold. Back then I had no grudges with your son. Your son was the one who forced my hand and wanted to kill me. If he had left me some leeway back then, how could he have died? He forced me to do this. I only killed him because he forced me into a dead end. I can understand that you want to kill me for revenge, but you should never have killed my family and friends. Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. As gods, we should have our own principles. As long as innocent people don't interfere with our grudges, we can let them go. But did you do that? I, Lin Ling, admit that I am not a good person. I have killed countless people, but as long as they are innocent, I will never kill them. Even if they are the son of my enemy, as long as it has nothing to do with hatred, as long as I don't want revenge, I will never implicate the innocent. Yin Wangguang, you are the one who has violated the principles of gods. Lin Ling's voice grew louder and louder. His last sentence caused Yin Wangguang's pupils to dilate and his expression to freeze. How could he not know the principles of gods? But his son had died back then and he was powerful. Why would he care about principles? He killed when he wanted to vent his hatred. Now Lin Ling had also abandoned the principles of gods for him. He killed when he wanted to. At this moment, Yin Wangguang slowly closed his eyes, and his appearance seemed to have aged greatly in an instant. 2 lines of blood tears slowly flowed down from his eyes. His heart was filled with boundless grief. Your clan members are all dead. The only one left is you. After you die, our hatred will be written off. Lin Ling had no intention of letting Yin Wangguang go. He knew that Yin Wangguang was a ruthless character, a king. If he didn't die today, he would make a comeback and wipe out all of Lin Ling's universes. Hearing Lin Ling's words, Yin Wangguang slowly opened his eyes. But they had already lost their luster. Only the vicissitudes and helplessness of an old man could be seen. Perhaps his clan members and relatives were all dead, and his heart was dead. Or perhaps he knew that he couldn't resist Lin Ling, so he didn't plan on resisting. Wait! However, just as Lin Ling made his move, a voice resounded from the sky. A moon appeared, sprinkling down endless moonlight. This moonlight was incomparably terrifying. As if it could freeze everything in the world. The entire 3rd floor of the Dao Pagoda was frozen at this moment. No one could move. They were shocked, knowing that an incomparably powerful god had made his move. What was even more frightening was that this god had used his great magical power to transfer his power from other places to the 3rd floor of the Dao Pagoda. God Ancestor. At this moment, Yin Wangguang raised his head. His disheartened eyes were quietly filled with color. Wangguang, you haven't lost yet. How can the hatred of your clan be forgotten? You should be the one to deal with the sins you've committed. Pull yourself together. In the sky, the voice resounded again. Hearing this, the color in Yin Wangguang's eyes deepened. He wanted revenge. He wanted to wipe out all of Lin Ling's universes. No one can save him. But at this moment, an angry roar sounded, and a dazzling sword light slashed down. The endless moonlight was separated, and a path of life and death appeared, leading directly to Yin Wangguang. It was Lin Ling. Beast, you dared to make a move. In the sky, the voice became astonished. Obviously, the owner of the voice didn't expect Lin Ling to have the power to break his moonlight. He had underestimated Lin Ling. Lin Ling was definitely the strongest existence among the saint-level universe giant gods. Die for me. The voice became angry and majestic, and the endless moonlight rushed toward Lin Ling. However, a terrifying force appeared like a protective umbrella, blocking the sprinkling moonlight. It was Lin Ling's universe. Chapter 50-75. The dazzling sword light cut through the endless moonlight and formed a terrible sound of thunder. The main reason was that the speed of the sword light was too fast. It was as if there was nothing it could not destroy. It was getting closer and closer to the silver light. Yin Wangguang's eyes were wide open because the sword light kept condensing in front of him and was about to kill him. No! He had only shouted one sentence when a sword slashed across his neck. He stood in the sky, and his eyes, which had regained their color, dimmed once again. The appearance of God Ancestor Silver Moon made him think that he had a chance to take revenge and make a comeback. Unfortunately, reality told him that when Lin Ling appeared, all of this was just a dream. Whoosh! He fell from the sky and smashed into the ocean Saint City. Linling, the host of the world will. At the same time, a low voice came from the sky, which was mixed with anger. Linling looked up at the sky. He knew that God Ancestor Silver Moon was more powerful than him. Fortunately, he was not on the third floor of the Tao Pagoda. Good. Linling nodded. Good, I'll remember you. The moonlight on the third floor of the Tao Pagoda disappeared. God Ancestor Silver Moon was leaving. Linling withdrew his gaze and looked at the dead Yin Wangguang. He suddenly calmed down. Yin Wangguang was dead. The hatred that had been suppressed in his heart for many years was finally avenged. At this moment Linling, in addition to being extremely relaxed, suddenly felt at a loss, as if he had lost his life goal. Perhaps from the moment he was killed, Linling's life goal was revenge. Until he got his revenge, he felt at a loss. He stood quietly in the sky and looked into the distance. He's finally dead. And Yuer and the others laughed excitedly. In reality, besides revenge, they were also afraid of Yin Wangguang. After all, Yin Wangguang was a madman. Killing them wasn't enough to vent his hatred. He wanted to torture them for eternity. Therefore, Yin Wangguang had to die. Otherwise, they would live in nightmares for the rest of their lives. The soul is scattered. Even the chance to reincarnate will be difficult. Linling is very strong in the soul Tao. The soul cannot escape from his grasp. Linling has been avenged, but he seems to be at a loss. Let him have some time to himself. It's been hard on him for the past 800 years. Yellow Emperor and the others sighed and brought everyone into the ocean sacred city. Now that the city had no master, it belonged to them. According to legend, there was primordial energy beneath the city, and the effects of cultivating here were thousands of times better than anywhere else. After everyone entered the city, the gods in the city did not dare to stop them. They all left and handed over the oceanic sacred city to the Yellow Emperor and the others. City of myriad gods, no wonder everyone wants a city. The cultivation here is indeed terrifying. Treasure god Nanwufingyu looked around and said, "Let's see if there are any survivors in the city. Familiarize yourself with the oceanic sacred city. From now on this place belongs to us. At least we can recover our strength," Yellow Emperor said. The news of Linling destroying the Silver Moon clan spread like a snowball in the city of myriad gods. In every corner of the third level, Linling's name was known everywhere. I heard that the Silver Moon clan was destroyed by a madman. His name is Linling. This person's strength is unfathomable. He destroyed the oceanic sacred city by himself. I think no one in the third level is a match for him. I remember when the Silver Moon ancestor appeared. He said that this person is one of the hosts of the world will. The gods discussed spiritedly. The oceanic sacred city had become the most difficult city to attack in the city of myriad gods. Everyone knew that there was an old monster in the oceanic sacred city called Linling. On the other side, Linling was still looking at Yin Wangguang's body and stabilizing his realm. Since he found his body, his strength had been improving rapidly. Because he wanted to take revenge, he had not experienced his strength properly. Now that he had taken his revenge, he began to experience the changes in his strength. His physical strength had not changed much. The same went for his soul power. The greatest change was his divine essence, especially his divine power, which had increased by quite a bit. The divine embryo in his dantian was still there, so Linling's following breakthroughs would not be too difficult. He would just need more cultivation resources. After all, he had used up all his treasures to become a giant god of the universe. If he wanted to break through again, he would need even more treasures. It will be even more difficult to open the 9th dantian. Moreover, the divine embryos needed for the 9th dantian are hard to find. Since I returned from the rainforest sacred land, I have been cultivating essence, qi, and divine origin. Now, qi is the weakest domain while soul power and physical body are the strongest. This trip to the netherworld has made me reborn. I am qualified to become one of the strongest giant gods in the universe. The third level can help me stabilize my realm. I will continue to cultivate here. I also need to find Yu Taoist of many treasures and the others. Linling slowly opened his eyes. After thinking for a while, He took Yin Wangguang's body with him. After a long time, he came to the snow maple tree graveyard. He took a shovel from the hut and started to dig. He buried Yin Wangguang's body and put down the gravestone. Yin Wangguang's grave. After doing this, he looked at the graves around him, shook his head and left. These graves were the same as Yin Wangguang's. They were gods who died on the third level. They were buried here for their entire lives. Their past glory, their past achievements, everything disappeared with the wind. All that was left was a pile of dirt. The oceanic sacred city has been dealt with. Only 3 enemies left. Lin Ling left the snow maple tree graveyard and informed someone along the way. It was the Yellow Emperor. Not long after, the Yellow Emperor was waiting for Lin Ling on top of a hill. He clearly knew why Lin Ling was looking for him. After seeing Lin Ling, he couldn't help but smile. "Lin Ling, you're here." Lin Ling could see that the Yellow Emperor's smile was very forced. He immediately said, "Old brother Yellow Emperor, if you can't do this, then forget it." Sigh. The Yellow Emperor sighed and stubbornly looked at Lin Ling. This is the cycle of karma. The green-robed ancestor has to give an explanation for what he did that day. Otherwise, I won't be able to answer to everyone, and I won't be able to face you. Old brother, you can decide this yourself. I won't interfere. Lin Ling still tried to persuade the Yellow Emperor. Lin Ling, I've made up my mind. The Yellow Emperor looked into the distance and said. Back then, the green-robed ancestor had deceived all of them. It was time for revenge. Seeing that the Yellow Emperor had made up his mind, Lin Ling didn't stop him. He led the Yellow Emperor forward. There were 3 enemies left. One was the Middle Prime Ancestor, one was the 5 Spirit Prophets, and the last was the green-robed ancestor. According to the route, Lin Ling first went to the Middle Prime Ancestor's Middle Prime City. However, when he got there, he discovered that Middle Prime City no longer had a city lord. The black mountain behind the giant city had disappeared, and even the gods in the city had disappeared. It was truly a ghost city. Chapter 5076. What I'm most afraid of is that he left the 3rd level using his celestial realm and returned to where he came from. If that's the case, it will be much harder to find him. As for going to the 4th level, he probably doesn't have the qualifications to do so with his strength. Lin Ling pondered and then smiled. Forget it, I'll kill him the next time I see him. Let's go find the 5 Spirit Prophets. He already knew all his enemies from the City of Gold, and one of them was the 5 Spirit Prophets. Speaking of which, the 5 Spirit Prophets were considered to have principles and were not cruel gods. Back then, he had Yin Wangguang kill Lin Ling's friends and family because he did not want Yin Wangguang to kill indiscriminately in the level of the gods. However, this had caused trouble and touched upon karma. It was because he wanted to save the countless innocent gods in the level of the gods that he had to bear this karma. In the end, Lin Ling came to kill him. This was the law of the universe, the cycle of karma. I beg my lord, please spare the 5 Spirit Prophets. When Lin Ling arrived at the 5 Spirit City, a large number of gods were kneeling on the ground. Now they all knew who the white-haired man was and knew how terrifying his strength was. However, what surprised Lin Ling was that the 5 Spirit Prophets' reputation was so good that so many people were pleading for him. My lord, if you want to kill, then kill me. I'm willing to exchange my life for the 5 Spirit Prophets. Kill me. No, everyone, don't fight. I'll pay with my life for the 5 Spirit Prophets. Pleading eyes looked at Lin Ling. No one dared to resist and there was no resentment. They could only plead. Lin Ling looked at them indifferently, his expression cold and emotionless. The Yellow Emperor's heart softened and he looked at Lin Ling. He wanted to say something but held back in the end, because he knew that he did not have the right to speak. After all, it was all thanks to Lin Ling that they were able to return alive. Moreover, how would they know what Lin Ling had shouldered and what he had experienced in this process? I'll give you all an instant's time to scram. At this moment, Lin Ling finally spoke. His expression was still emotionless. To him, the 5 Spirit Prophets might be good people, but what did that have to do with him, Lin Ling? Back then, the 5 Spirit Prophets had bewitched Lin Ling to kill his friends and family. At that moment, Lin Ling had sworn that those who came to kill him would all die. Unfortunately, there were too many people back then. Lin Ling couldn't kill all of them, so he only found a few leaders to take revenge on. I'll kill you. Everyone, let's stop him and save the 5 spirit prophets. Seeing that Lin Ling was determined to kill, everyone stood up, wanting to fight Lin Ling to the death. You don't know what's good for you. Lin Ling coldly snorted. With his current strength, why would he be afraid of this group of people? Wait. However, at this moment, an old voice suddenly sounded. A huge 5-colored ancient tree rose from the 5 spirit city behind them. An old man stood on the tree and slowly floated over. The huge tree also lowered and all the branches sent the old man over. Lin Ling looked at the old man indifferently and instantly recognized him as the 5 spirit prophets. That was because this old man was also present back then. Lin Ling. The 5 spirit prophets looked at Lin Ling and couldn't help but smile bitterly. After Yin Guang died, he knew that Lin Ling would come looking for him. Regarding this, he had thought of escaping, but in the end he couldn't take that step. That was because he knew that this was the cycle of karma. He could escape, but could the people of the 5 spirit city escape? Although he had suggested this in order to save more gods, in the end, he was the one who had caused this disaster. He should not have sacrificed Lin Ling for the sake of the gods. He didn't have the right to do so. Kill yourself and I'll spare everyone in the 5 spirit city. Lin Ling said indifferently. All right. The 5 spirit prophets looked at the entire 5 spirit city and all the gods. Those gods' eyes were moist as if they were watching their loved ones leave. Back then, when they first came to the 3rd level of the Tao Pagoda, they were chased and couldn't find a safe harbor. It was the 5 spirit prophets who took them in and helped them defeat the enemy. Although they knew that the 5 spirit prophets helped them because they had a relationship with the 5 spirit prophets. Perhaps they knew each other in their previous lives or thousands of lives ago. But this great kindness was something they would never forget. Remember, after I die, no one can find the oceanic sacred city to settle the score. If they violate my agreement, I won't die in peace. The 5 spirit prophets seemed to be able to calculate something and said majestically, Senior prophet. Everyone shouted loudly, crying with incomparable sorrow. I want you to swear a blood oath. The 5 spirit prophets' eyes were also moist as they shouted. We swear that in this life we won't find the oceanic sacred city to settle the score. We won't find Lin Ling to settle the score. Seeing this scene, everyone swore one after another. They knew in their hearts that the 5 spirit prophets were doing this for their own good. After all, with their strength, there was no hope of finding Lin Ling for revenge. If they provoked Lin Ling, even their entire family, relatives and friends would suffer. All right. Seeing everyone swear, the 5 spirit prophets nodded with relief. He looked at Lin Ling and didn't say anything. Now, he could only bet that Lin Ling was a person with conscience and principles. He wasn't as cruel and ruthless as Yin Guang. Then his body began to burn. It was a colorful flame that was burning him. And in the 5 spirit city, the huge 5 spirit prophets tree also began to wither. Sir. Senior. Everyone knelt down and kept kowtowing as they watched the 5 spirit prophets die. As for Lin Ling, he quietly watched. He could tell that these people worshipped the 5 spirit prophets so much because they had ties with the 5 spirit prophets in their past lives. From another perspective, they were also family and friends of the 5 spirit prophets. But this didn't mean that the 5 spirit prophets were truly kind people who could help any god. Of course, putting this point aside, the 5 spirit prophets were also powerful people. Let's go. Lin Ling said to the Yellow Emperor as he flew into the distance. Lin Ling. The Yellow Emperor was shocked because he thought that Lin Ling would destroy the 5 spirit prophet's soul and make him disappear from the universe forever. But Lin Ling didn't. He allowed the 5 spirit prophet's soul to enter the underworld and reincarnate. For revenge, I've already killed too many people. Although I'm not afraid, I don't want to kill too many. Perhaps everything is as the 5 spirit prophets thought. I don't want to become someone without principles and conscience. I have to say that this prophet does have some ability. He knows that I'm not that kind of person and can't do it. Lin Ling smiled at the Yellow Emperor, making the Yellow Emperor smile as well. One must know that all this time, Lin Ling had led them to slaughter in the underworld and in the Tao Pagoda. He was afraid that Lin Ling would lose himself and become a god like Dipankara Buddha. Everyone below a saint was an ant. That was the indifference of a supreme god, the indifference to the world, believing that everything was the laws of the universe. Luckily Lin Ling didn't. Chapter 50-77. All that's left is the green-robed ancestor. I'll leave this matter to Yellow Emperor. Yes. No matter if you're a human or a god, you have to bear the consequences of your actions, including me Lin Ling, unless you have the power to control everything, but the green-robed ancestor obviously doesn't. He made the choice that led to today's outcome. Yes. Lin Ling looked at the Yellow Emperor. The Yellow Emperor nodded. The complicated look in his eyes finally disappeared, replaced by determination. The two flew along the sky. Gradually, a dense forest appeared in front of them. This was the Tree City. The Yellow Emperor looked at the dense forest and thought back to when they first came to the city of myriad gods. At that time they didn't know anyone. It was the Yellow Emperor who accidentally met the green-robed ancestor. The green-robed ancestor allowed them to stay in Emerald City. They were once close friends and the Yellow Emperor trusted the green-robed ancestor. Who would have thought that the green-robed ancestor would deceive the Yellow Emperor in the end? Let's go down. Although Lin Ling didn't know the green-robed ancestor, he could see from the Yellow Emperor's expression that they were once close friends. The two of them landed on the ground, surrounded by lush trees. Lin Ling discovered that his cultivation speed was incomparably fast in the forest, and his god force was constantly rising. Of course, he quickly understood that it was the Grand Mist true energy under the ground that was causing trouble. The treasures on the third floor of the City of Myriad Gods are even more precious than the treasures on the first floor. It can constantly increase a god's divine energy. No wonder all the gods here want to enter the City of Myriad Gods. Lin Ling thought. Who are you? Why did you invade my tree city? State your name. At this time a large amount of light flashed and a dozen figures suddenly appeared. They seemed to be the gods of the Tree City. The main reason was that Lin Ling and the Yellow Emperor didn't enter through the direct channel. Instead, they suddenly landed, violating the rules of the Tree City. I am Lin Ling, here to find the green-robed ancestor. Lin Ling said indifferently. Old monster Lin Ling? The originally aggressive deity's face turned ghastly pale, and he didn't dare to say another word. Old monster Lin Ling. At the same time, a large number of gods appeared in front of Lin Ling in the blink of an eye. These gods had the strength of a giant universe god, but their overall strength was only slightly stronger than the Yellow Emperor of the past. The leader was an old man wearing a green robe. He looked at the Yellow Emperor with a complicated expression. The Yellow Emperor also looked at him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. How have you been all these years? After an unknown amount of time passed, the green-robed Green Emperor. Good, very good. The Yellow Emperor says, you is to kill me. The green-robed ancestor said. Seeing the Yellow Emperor's silence, he could not help but sigh. Green Robe, this matter is not just about me. I want to give everyone an explanation. I, the Yellow Emperor, said that. Back then, Emperor Shun and Emperor June had trusted the Yellow Emperor and stayed with him in Emerald City. In the end, they were killed by the green-robed ancestor. How could the Yellow Emperor not do anything? If he did, he would have let down Emperor Shun and the others. Yellow Emperor, I admit that I was wrong back then, but at that time I had no choice. Please give me a chance. You know how difficult it is for us gods to come this far. If I die this time, I won't be able to keep my position as a god and will become immortal. The green-robed ancestor bowed to the Yellow Emperor, tears rolling down his cheeks as he spoke. The Yellow Emperor's body trembled. The green-robed ancestor was right. It was indeed difficult for him to come this far. He had to be careful at every step. Perhaps the green-robed ancestor didn't expect that even though he was cautious, he would still be killed by his own good friend in the end. Old brother Yellow Emperor, think about the past. At that time we were talking about the future by the river. The green-robed ancestor cried when he saw the Yellow Emperor moved. The Yellow Emperor became even more silent as he thought about the past. Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. He knew that the Yellow Emperor was a sentimental person and wouldn't be willing to kill his brother. However, he could see that the green-robed ancestor was extremely sinister. He specifically targeted the Yellow Emperor's weak spot and played the pity card. The Yellow Emperor and the green-robed ancestor had a brotherly relationship, but Lin Ling didn't. Therefore Lin Ling could see through it clearly. However, Lin Ling didn't stop him. It was all up to the Yellow Emperor. After all, he owed the Yellow Emperor too much. Green-robed ancestor, you are shameless. Back then, you betrayed the Yellow Emperor and the others to protect yourself. Now, you are using your brotherly relationship to persuade us to pay the price for what we did back then. Humph, you were the city lord back then. If you didn't make the decision to betray the Yellow Emperor, who would have done it? While the green-robed ancestor was playing the pity card, the surrounding gods suddenly roared and their eyes turned red. Because they saw that the green-robed ancestor was only pleading for them and didn't care about them at all. They also knew that Lin Ling was ruthless. If he could destroy the entire Ocean Saint City, then he could also destroy the entire Emerald City. What if the green-robed ancestor was fine and they became scapegoats? The green-robed ancestor saw that the Yellow Emperor was already moved, and suddenly someone interrupted him. He was furious. These people were his trusted subordinates, but the most despicable thing was that at the crucial moment, they actually sabotaged him. Humph, when you received Yin Wanguang's order, you also had the same expression now. You looked like you were unwilling to part with him, but in reality you were doing it for yourself. Despicable. On the surface, on the other hand, you are the kind of person who is actually selfish. Everyone pointed at the green-robed ancestor and roared. Lord Lin Ling, please don't listen to the green-robed ancestor's nonsense. After the gods finished cursing, they looked at Lin Ling and said, Die. Lin Ling's face was emotionless as he shouted in a low voice. The universe's three extremes destruction was unleashed and killed the few people who shouted the loudest. Who was shouting nonsense? Die. Lin Ling said in a low voice. Everyone's expression changed greatly, and they didn't dare to speak. They looked at the green-robed ancestor in disbelief and envy. Because Lin Ling was actually helping the green-robed ancestor. Lin Ling continued to stand by the side. The reason why he acted was because he could see that the loudest people were also involved in the matter in the past. Today, they could betray the green-robed ancestor. It was probably them who had bewitched the green-robed ancestor. Such people were useless if they didn't die. As for the green-robed ancestor, Lin Ling also wanted to kill him, but it was up to the Yellow Emperor to decide. Dead? The green-robed ancestor's eyes trembled. He was both panicked and surprised. What made them panic was that Lin Ling was so powerful that he was able to kill more than a dozen saint-level universe giant gods in one move. What surprised him was that Lin Ling didn't kill him, but killed those who tried to sow discord. Chapter 5078. Thank you, Brother Yellow Emperor. The green-robed ancestor hurriedly said to the Yellow Emperor, I was wrong back then, but I was forced to do so. However, let bygones be bygones. From now on, you will always be my brother. At the end, he laughed excitedly. From now on, this Emerald City will belong to Elder Brother. I don't want it. Suddenly, the silent Yellow Emperor spoke. His words made the green-robed ancestor's pupils dilate. What did Brother Yellow Emperor mean? Green-robed ancestor, even though we have a good relationship and I don't care about what happened back then, you still have to die. The Yellow Emperor looked at the green-robed ancestor indifferently. What? The green-robed ancestor immediately became anxious. He waved his hands and said, Why? I didn't want to do that. Brother, don't you believe me? He knew very well that his life or death depended on the Yellow Emperor's words. I believe you. The Yellow Emperor nodded. But what's the use? Hundreds of thousands of gods died because of you. How can I let them die in vain just because I believe you? I can't be so selfish. I can't let them down for my own feelings. So you have to die. Brother Yellow Emperor. The green-robed ancestor became even more anxious. However, no matter how he explained, the Yellow Emperor remained unmoved. It was as if the Yellow Emperor had already made up his mind. Why? In the end, the green-robed ancestor looked up to the sky and sighed. He never thought that the Yellow Emperor would be the one who wanted him dead, even though Lin Ling didn't care anymore. Brother, I'm sorry. If you reincarnate, I'll take good care of you. The Yellow Emperor looked at the green-robed ancestor with a hint of guilt in his eyes. Good. The The green-robed ancestor nodded continuously as if his heart had given up. Suddenly, a cold light appeared in his eyes and his body emitted a green light that enveloped the Yellow Emperor. This layer of green light was extremely powerful. It contained the sun, the moon, the stars, countless lives, and its own universe's laws. This was the green-robed ancestor's green forest universe. After enveloping the Yellow Emperor, the green-robed ancestor laughed heartily. "Brother, I'm sorry I can't die yet. You're so heartless, I've thought it through." The feelings of the past were just fleeting clouds. He looked at Lin Ling and shouted, "Lin Ling, I know that you're very strong, but I brought the Yellow Emperor into my universe. And my universe, which is the universe of the 8 worlds. Although it can't stop your attack, if you kill me, I'll die. Let the Yellow Emperor die with me. Let him die before me. The Yellow Emperor, the Green Robe's god. Let us go. As long as we reach a safe place, I will release the Yellow Emperor." He? To think that he had been listening to the Yellow Emperor talk about the past, about how he and Green Robe were brothers and how close their relationship was. Everything. It was all fake. It seems that the green-robed ancestor betrayed the Yellow Emperor. Even if he didn't have people around him, he would still betray the Yellow Emperor for him. But he was even more hypocritical. Green-robed ancestor, you... At this moment, the Yellow Emperor was sealed in the universe. He couldn't move. He was bound by the laws of the universe. "Don't worry, when I'm safe, I'll let you go," the green-robed ancestor said to the Yellow Emperor. Unfortunately, not to mention Lin Ling, even the Yellow Emperor didn't believe him. The green-robed ancestor would definitely imprison the Yellow Emperor for his own safety. Unless one day, his strength surpassed Lin Ling's and he didn't need to fear Lin Ling. "I misjudged you." The Yellow Emperor finally closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his heart was dead. "I misjudged you too." The green-robed ancestor snorted coldly and said malevolently, "You and I are brothers. As long as you say the word, I won't have to die. But what about you? You don't care about brotherhood and only want to kill me. I know that your strength is not the same as before. You are jealous that I am stronger than you. You can't be my brother anymore, so you want to kill me. But let me tell you, this is a dream." After speaking, he looked at Lin Ling. "Lin Ling, get out of my sight. Otherwise, the Yellow Emperor will die. You can't play with me." As he spoke, he had already quietly retreated. "I can't play with you?" However, after a few steps, Lin Ling's cold voice came. The green-robed ancestor was scared. But after thinking about his own trump card, he sneered. "You dare to touch me? Unless you don't want the Yellow Emperor's life. I know your divine power, your sword. Your power can break my universe, but before you break my universe law can also kill the Yellow Emperor." Hearing this, Lin Ling did not say a word and stepped forward. "Get out of my sight. If you come one step closer, I will kill the Yellow Emperor." The green-robed ancestor angrily shouted. He was incomparably afraid of Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling did not stop. "Lin Ling, I will really kill you. I will really kill you." The green-robed ancestor was anxious. He thought to himself, could it be that Lin Ling planned to give up on the Yellow Emperor and risk his life to kill him? "Ha ha, Yellow Emperor, look. You treat him as a brother, but he doesn't treat you as anything. Your life and death is nothing." The green-robed ancestor roared. He was trying to provoke Lin Ling. But Lin Ling was indifferent. "You." The green-robed ancestor was completely panicking. "If you can kill me, then kill me." At this time, Lin Ling finally spoke. Hearing this, the green-robed ancestor threw caution to the wind. He knew that if he did not show some strength to Lin Ling would really take a mile after giving him an inch. He controlled the universe law and wanted to make the Yellow Emperor suffer a fate worse than death. However, when all the laws rushed towards the Yellow Emperor, the expected scream did not appear. Instead, the Yellow Emperor was still standing there. What is going on?" The green-robed ancestor's pupils constricted. "Because you have already entered my universe. This universe is called Lin Ling Universe." While the green-robed ancestor was panicking, a voice came, causing the green-robed ancestor to raise his head. Only then did he discover that there was a strange power nearby. And this is the power of the universe. Lin Ling's universe power is actually more powerful than his. It must be the power of the seven-realm universe. After all, if it can unknowingly envelop his universe, it must be stronger than his eight-realm universe. Wait. I am the Yellow Emperor's brother. The green-robed ancestor completely understood how strong the old monster Lin Ling is. No wonder Yin Wangguang was unable to resist Lin Ling. Now you're calling me brother? Weren't you shouting so loudly before? Lin Ling coldly said. He controlled the universe to suppress the green-robed ancestor. With a burst of firecrackers, the green-robed ancestor's universe was shattered. Although he is still in Lin Ling's universe, the Yellow Emperor is much stronger than him. Old brother Yellow Emperor, you can deal with it yourself. Lin Ling turned around and left. On the ancient land, only the Yellow Emperor and the green-robed ancestor were left standing. The green-robed ancestor's body was trembling. The Yellow Emperor, who was weaker than the green-robed ancestor, seemed to have returned to the past, looking down at the green-robed ancestor. Chapter 50-79. Outside the dense forest, Lin Ling stood quietly, sensing the primordial aura beneath the forest. Seven-realm universe? What's that? When Lin Ling's universe had clashed with the green-robed ancestor's universe, he had discovered that the green-robed ancestor's universe was full of loopholes that could be easily broken. The green-robed ancestor had also said that his was an eight-realm universe. Was there a difference between the seven and eight realms? With that thought in mind, Lin Ling suddenly looked up and saw the Yellow Emperor slowly walking out of the forest. He had a smile on his face and looked extremely relaxed. Old brother Yellow Emperor, is there a difference between the seven-realm universe and eight-realm universe? Lin Ling walked over and asked. He did not ask how the green-robed ancestor was, because this was the Yellow Emperor's choice. Powerful universes are divided into 9 realms. The higher the realm, the stronger it is. The 7 realms have more laws than the 8 realms. Therefore, when the 8-realm universe meets the 7-realm universe, it will definitely collapse. The Yellow Emperor looked gratefully at Lin Ling and explained, because when he came out, an ordinary person would definitely ask how the green-robed ancestor was. However, Lin Ling did not ask, as though nothing had happened. This was a form of trust in him. He thought back to when he had first met Lin Ling. At that time they had gone to the bottom of the abyss to find a secret realm. No one would have thought that after so many years, he would be together with this man, and watch him grow stronger and stronger. Now he was the leader of the 4 great ancient emperors. Most importantly, this man had become a close friend of his who would go through life and death with him. The 7-realm universe has more laws? Lin Ling frowned. The Yellow Emperor nodded. In truth, mine is also the 7-realm universe. However, my strength has not recovered, and it is difficult for me to bring it with me. When I use the 7-realm universe to attack, I can see that there are 7 huge universe rings on the surface of the universe. This is the basis of the universe's strength. The fewer the universe rings, the stronger the universe. Because there are fewer universe rings, it means that one can enter powerful universes at will, such as the Tao Pagoda or the Primal Chaos Realm. Lin Ling immediately sensed it and discovered that there were indeed 7 halos on the surface of Lin Ling's universe. Of course, if one didn't look carefully, it would be difficult to discover them. Moreover, among the 7 universal rings, the outermost ring was somewhat dim, as if it was dissipating. This meant that the Lin Ling universe was transforming into a 6-realm universe. The fewer universe rings there were, the more places a god could enter with their universe, and the stronger the power of the universe. My 9,000 avatars are constantly comprehending the laws of the universe, so my universe is constantly improving. However, in a battle between gods, the universe is only one of them. Other means are also very important. A god without a universe might not be much weaker than a god with a universe. Lin Ling kept muttering to himself, Lin Ling, where are you going next? The Yellow Emperor looked at Lin Ling and said, I'm going to find you, Taoist master of many treasures, and the others. Then, I'll go back to the ocean sacred city to cultivate. Lin Ling said, Okay, during this time we'll strive to recover our strength. The Yellow Emperor nodded and exchanged a few more words with Lin Ling. Then he bid farewell and left. Lin Ling went ahead alone. Now many people had reincarnated and he had to bring them back. The memories that they had were hidden in Lin Ling's soul at this moment. They've reincarnated in a Dao realm. Floating in the sky, Lin Ling slightly sensed, and then left the Dao pagoda by returning to heaven. He went to various Dao realms and found his former friends. Then he pushed their memories to them and brought them back to the city of myriad gods. As time passed, those reincarnated friends returned. In the end, only 2 people were left. One was Taoist master of many treasures. The other was Yu. What made Lin Ling feel strange was that after he devoured the life and death stone, he could clearly find these 2 people. However, when he tried to find them, there was a layer of energy blocking him. Especially Yu, it could be said that he couldn't sense anything. Clearly, Yu was reincarnated in a certain Dao realm. Lin Ling also entered that Dao realm. However, after entering, the feeling disappeared instantly. Could it be that a powerful god intervened? Taoist master of many treasures also disappeared. It's understandable. But why did Yu also disappear? Things are a little beyond imagination. After searching for a long time, Lin Ling also became a little irritable. On this day, a voice came from the city of myriad gods. It seemed to be the Yellow Emperor's voice. Lin Ling was helpless and could only return to the city of myriad gods. In the city of myriad gods, the old monster Lin Ling's fierce reputation was well known. Therefore, Lin Ling could walk freely in the 3rd floor. Not long after, he returned to the ocean sacred city. His gaze swept across and found that everyone was cultivating. Moreover, their recovery speed was extremely fast. Among them, Sacre Tian and Yuer, and the others had even recovered to their peak state. Even the Yellow Emperor had recovered to the king level of a universe giant god. He was probably only a step away from the pinnacle of the saint level in the past. Lin Ling. After seeing Lin Ling, a figure happily ran over and rushed into Lin Ling's arms. It was Xian Yuan Gur. Little girl, what's the matter? Lin Ling immediately smiled. And Yuer, the Yellow Emperor, and the others were cultivating in seclusion. Only Xian Yuan Gur happened to be free, so Xian Yuan Gur was waiting for Lin Ling. Have you found big sister Yu? Xian Yuan Gur asked first. After going through ups and downs, the little she-devil had matured a lot, but she also had a feminine charm. Of course, no matter how much she changed, the temperament hidden in her bones would not change much. Therefore, the little she-devil still gave people a feeling of demonic nature. No, she disappeared. And so did the Taoist of many treasures. Lin Ling said. What happened? Xian Yuan Gur frowned. During this period, people kept coming back. She thought that it would be Yuyu's turn soon, but she waited for a long time and still did not see Yuyu. I don't know. Lin Ling shook his head. The Taoist of many treasures is the host of the world's will. It's understandable that he disappeared. But why did Yuyu disappear too? However, there's no other way now. We can only search slowly. Right, Gur, why did you call me back? 2 people are looking for you. Xian Yuan Gur was very worried about Yuyu, but she could only follow Lin Ling's words and search slowly. Looking for me? Lin Ling frowned. His family and friends were all in the sacred ocean city, and he didn't know anyone on the 3rd level. Who was looking for him? Follow me. Xian Yuan Gur smiled and led Lin Ling forward. A short while later, they arrived at a large hall. The hall was filled with ancient spirit energy, and the spirit energy even carried strands of primordial energy. So, the speed of cultivation of gods would increase by over 10 times while they were in the hall. This meant that this hall used to be an extremely important place. Of course, after the Silver Moon clan was destroyed, this place became Lin Ling's place. There were 2 people in the hall sitting and talking. When they saw Lin Ling, they stood up one after another. One of them smiled. She had long golden hair and was very beautiful. Her breasts and buttocks were perky, and she was wearing golden armor. She was extremely attractive. Chapter 50-80. Looking at the other person, this person had a cold face, but his appearance was a little strange. His whole body was transparent, and his facial features were handsome, but he had no hair. And he was the great god of Spirit Kingdom. The great god of Spirit Kingdom was also a host body of the world's will. Since Lin Ling explored the 8 gods' heavenly palace and learned that the last host body of the world's will was Tong Tian, they rarely came. Who would have thought that he would also come knocking today? Lin Ling had always thought that the great god of Spirit Kingdom had gone to the 4th floor. This is an acquaintance of yours, right? The 12-winged young god looked at Lin Ling and said. And Lin Ling immediately nodded. The great god of Spirit Kingdom came from the 4th floor of the Dao Pagoda. The 12-winged young god said again, which surprised Lin Ling. It was said that in the 9th floor of the Dao Pagoda, one could only go up and not down. Otherwise, the god of decay and god ancestor Silver Moon would have come to the 3rd floor long ago. Yes. He left from the 4th floor of the Dao Pagoda, and then came up from the 1st floor. The 12-winged young god explained. Hearing this, Lin Ling's pupils constricted. After all the gods went up the Dao Pagoda. After going up, no one wanted to come down, even if it meant death. But the great god of Spirit Kingdom could give up his steps and start from the beginning. If he started from the beginning, he might not be able to enter the place he came from. It seems that the great god of Spirit Kingdom encountered danger, forcing him to give up the 4th floor and start from the beginning. Or maybe he had a reason to leave. Lin Ling secretly thought. Lin Ling, you don't have to guess. I came down from the 4th floor of the Dao Pagoda not because I encountered any danger. Even if there was, as a god, I would not be afraid. I did have a reason to come down. The great god of Spirit Kingdom said. Great god of Spirit Kingdom, you're amazing. I thought that Lin Ling, was already very fast, but it turns out that you were even faster. Unknowingly, you went to the 4th floor. Lin Ling suddenly laughed. His relationship with the great god of Spirit Kingdom was very strange. They seemed to be enemies, but in fact they were like comrades. It could only be said that they were all very weak. There were too many experts above them, so they formed a temporary alliance. You're not bad yourself. Ever since I came to this level, I've been hearing the old monster Lin Ling's name everywhere. You've already become the overlord of this 3rd level. The great god of Spirit Nation laughed. After chatting for a while, things were no longer as strange as before. I didn't think that the great god of the Spirit Kingdom would also have a talent for flattery. Alright, let's stop bragging. Tell me, what do you want from me? Lin Ling shook his head and smiled. He sat down and asked Xian Yuangur to prepare the tea. Then he looked at the two of them. Lin Ling, you are very strong. We need your help in this matter. The great god of Spirit Nation nodded and looked at the 12-winged sun god. The latter did not hide anything and said, Lin Ling, we need your help to enter the Chaos Realm and rescue the Son of Light of the Solar Divine Clan. Child of Light? Lin Ling frowned. The 12-winged sun god continued. The first sun god of our Solar Divine Clan has fallen. He was killed by the decaying god of the decaying race. Now the commander of the Solar Divine Clan is the Son of Light, and he is also one of the 9 universe stars. Now, he has been captured by the 3 great sects of White Mountain. He is in the Chaos Realm. Although I don't know why Dipankara Buddha God captured the Son of Light, I reckon it must be related to the 9 universe stars. Therefore, the Solar Divine Clan has dispatched many experts to enter the Chaos Realm to rescue the Son of Light. Although your realm is only at the early stage of the King Realm of the Universe Giant God, your strength is not weak. You are also the person we want to invite. We guess that in this rescue you will definitely encounter the obstruction of the decaying race and the 3 great sects of White Mountain. These are also your old rivals. Yes. Hearing this, Lin Ling understood. The Son of Light, one of the 9 universe stars. By the way, one of your friends is also here. Her name is Ning Qingxin. She suggested that I invite you. The 12-winged sun god said again. Lin Ling's heart froze. He knew he had to agree to this. After all, Lin Ling had helped him time and time again. Lin Ling had no reason not to help. What about you? Don't tell me you also want to save the Son of Light. Lin Ling looked at the great god of Spirit Nation and asked. The great god of Spirit Nation suddenly smiled. I don't know the Son of Light, so I have no obligation to help him. I came here for a friend and he is also someone you know. He is Taoist Master of Many Treasures. Taoist Master of Many Treasures. Lin Ling frowned. The great god of Spirit Nation had to start from the 4th level all over again because of Taoist Master of Many Treasures. Well, Dipankara Buddha God knows that he has reincarnated and has already captured him. He is now in the chaotic realm. In fact, when you died, Dipankara Buddha God was already looking for you in the underworld. However, he did not find you. He found Jinren Duobao. That's all. The great god of Spirit Nation explained, his eyes flashing quietly. He was shocked by what Lin Ling had done, returning from the underworld, even wiping out the Silver Moon clan, and greatly increasing his strength. This was not something an ordinary god could do. Of course, Lin Ling was the host of the world will. This was also explainable. Back then, I knew that you and Taoist Master of Many Treasures were in trouble. I wanted to help, but I was already on the 4th level. Even if I rushed over, I had to start from the 1st level. By the time I reached the 3rd level, you were already dead. So I didn't come to help. The great god of Spirit Nation suddenly said. Lin Ling was a little surprised to find that the great god of Spirit Nation seemed to be explaining. However, he and the great god of Spirit Nation were only allies. It was reasonable for him not to come. It's okay. It's all in the past. Lin Ling shook his head and smiled. Don't misunderstand. I don't want to help you. I just don't want you to be controlled by Dipankara Buddha and the others. Because once they control you, the next one will be me. The great god of Spirit Nation said again. I'm tall. If the sky falls, I'll hold it up. Is that what you mean? Lin Ling curled his lips and looked at the 12-winged sun god. Okay, I'll go to the Chaos Realm with you. Thank you. The 12-winged sun god was instantly overjoyed. She had seen Lin Ling's strength with her own eyes. Moreover, she realized that Lin Ling had a wonderful ability. Every time he encountered a great crisis, he had the ability to step through it. Therefore, with Lin Ling's help, the Sun God clan was halfway to success. It's okay. Lin Ling waved his hand indifferently and looked at the great god of Spirit Nation. Do you know the whereabouts of Taoist Master of Many Treasures? I know that he is in the Chaos Realm. However, you, Lin Ling, have a way to find people who have died. If you go to the Chaos Realm, you will definitely be able to sense Taoist Master of Many Treasures. The great god of Spirit Nation said. It's just that the Chaos Realm is very chaotic. Many battles have broken out, and even the powerful rulers of the pagoda can go back. It won't be easy to save people. Most of the powerful gods of the Tao Pagoda came from the Chaos Realm. Lin Ling knew this. He immediately asked, Did you see many experts on the 4th floor of the Tao Pagoda? What's my rank among them? Chapter 5081. Only lower middle? Lin Ling frowned. He had thought that his strength had greatly increased upon his return, but it seemed that he was still very weak. He couldn't help but ask, Great God of Spirit Nation, you were weaker than me before, but now I'm afraid you're stronger than me. Why? Yes. The great god of Spirit Nation nodded, but he also smiled. I can't guarantee that I'm stronger than you. Yes. He knew very well that although Lin Ling's realm seemed low, he had many hidden methods, and they were all very powerful. If they really fought, he could always catch his opponent off guard and fight above his realm. Lin Ling, when can we set off? Seeing that Lin Ling had agreed, the 12-winged young god didn't want to delay for too long. Let's set off immediately. Lin Ling pondered for a moment and immediately said. The longer they delayed, the more dangerous it would be for Taoist Duobao. Lin Ling knew this. All right. The 12-winged young god nodded happily and followed Lin Ling out of the hall. Lin Ling informed the Yellow Emperor and the others and roughly told them the whole story before leaving. The Yellow Emperor and the others all felt resentful. If they had recovered their strength, they would have been able to accompany Lin Ling everywhere. Now they could only do their best to increase their strength and enter a stronger god's world after Lin Ling's return. How do we go to the Chaos Realm? On the other side, Lin Ling followed the 12-winged young god and asked along the way. Let's go to Maple Water Sky Mountain first. Our sun god race's Tao return to heaven is there. We can use it to leave. The 12-winged young god said. Lin Ling was immediately curious. Then, the three of them flew for a full 6 hours before arriving at the distant border of the 3rd floor. At this moment, a large number of gods had already gathered here. They were all from the sun god race, and they stood on the mountainside. The sun in the sky shrouded the mountainside, and the sunlight was very comfortable. When they saw the 12-winged young god, everyone bowed slightly. It could be seen that the 12-winged young god had a great reputation in the hearts of the people. In the surroundings there were also many gods who were not from the sun god race. These people had cold expressions and were extremely strong. They seemed to be the powerful gods of the third level, and had been invited by the sun god race. The 12-winged young god did not say anything. He continued to lead Lin Ling forward and stopped at a corner of the mountainside. Then the light of the sun shrouded the sky. A feeling of teleportation was born, and Lin Ling and the other two gradually disappeared. That's the 12-winged young god. After the three of them disappeared, voices came from the foot of the mountain. Some of the gods who had been invited to help recognized the 12-winged young god. That white-haired man is the old monster Lin Ling from the holy city of the sea. What? That's right, it's the old monster Lin Ling. I didn't expect him to be invited. If we have his help in this trip to the Chaos Realm, our success rate will greatly increase. The group of gods began to whisper among themselves. Regarding the old monster Lin Ling's name, there wasn't a single person in the third floor who didn't know of it. Everyone knew that there were several major cities in the city of myriad gods that couldn't be provoked, and the first of them was the Holy Ocean City. On the other side, Lin Ling and the other two appeared again in a large hall. At this moment there were many people in the hall. The powerful gods were all standing there, chatting in twos and threes. Most of the gods here were from the sun god race. 12-winged young god. The windward plains of the Chaos Realm needs help. Have you found any? At this moment a burly man walked over. He was 2 meters tall and wore golden armor. He had long golden hair and most importantly, he had 12 wings on his back. This person's strength and status were actually on par with the 12-winged young god. 12-winged young Wei, I have brought Lin Ling, the great god of the spirit kingdom. They are all hosts of the world will, and have grudges with the 3 great sects of the White Mountain. The 12-winged young god introduced. The burly man immediately stared at Lin Ling and exclaimed, "The great god of the spirit kingdom? On the 4th level of the Tao Pagoda, the god who fought with the 12 protectors of the rotten race?" That's right. The great god of the spirit kingdom nodded. Lin Ling was secretly surprised. He did not expect the great god of the spirit kingdom to be so famous on the 4th level of the Tao Pagoda. It seemed that his strength was stronger than expected. Lin Ling, the master of the city of myriad gods, the man who killed Yin Wan Guang. The burly man looked at Lin Ling again with a look of surprise. Of course, compared to the great god of the spirit kingdom, this kind of surprise was much less. After all, although Lin Ling was very famous on the 3rd level, the great god of the spirit kingdom had fought his way to the sky on the 4th level. The 3rd level was naturally incomparable to the 4th level. That's right, it's me. Lin Ling nodded and did not care about the burly man's attitude. Thank you both. The burly man cupped his hands and bowed to Lin Ling. Although he did not attach as much importance to Lin Ling as the great god of the spirit kingdom, he was still very polite to Lin Ling. I wonder which of the two of you will go to the windward plains with me? Then the man said, now our sun god race has gathered a large number of experts and is preparing to attack the 3 divine gates of the White Mountain. However, the rotten race also has experts helping. Our goal is to persuade the rotten race gods stationed in the Chaos Realm to withdraw. For this matter, the windward plains is one of the bases. After all, it won't be long before a large number of experts from the sun god race pass through the windward plains. Therefore, we don't want to leak the news and attract any trouble. Hearing this, Lin Ling frowned and asked, you mean we want to persuade the rotten race helpers in the windward plains, but they refuse to listen? Then we can only kill them, the man said with a smile. Hearing this, Lin Ling and the great god of the spirit kingdom looked at each other and asked who would go to the windward plains. Lin Ling, you go. I will follow the large group to attack the 3 divine gates of the White Mountain. After all, you are going to save the Taoist of many treasures. It will be easier to be discovered if you follow the large group. The great god of the spirit kingdom suddenly said. Okay. Lin Ling also felt that the great god of the spirit kingdom made sense. Then I'll have to trouble your excellency Lin Ling. The man immediately bowed to Lin Ling, and then led Lin Ling to another group. This group had about a dozen people, including 8 experts from the sun god race. 4 of them had been invited, including Lin Ling. This is Lin Ling. The man introduced himself to everyone and then said, "I am Yang Wei with 12 wings. You can call me Yang Wei." "Lord Yang Wei." Everyone bowed slightly and then looked at Lin Ling with a smile. Old monster Lin Ling. An extremely famous figure in the city of myriad gods. "It's an honor to meet you." "It's just a fluke." Lin Ling was a little surprised. After all, these gods were definitely not from the 3rd floor of the Dao Tower, but they knew him. It was strange. "You killed the patriarch of the Silver Moon race. Now many people in the Dao Tower have heard of your name." Someone saw that Lin Ling was puzzled and immediately explained. Chapter 5082. After chatting for a while, Yang Wei led everyone forward. At the front of the hall there was a huge screen of light. This screen of light seemed to be formed by sunlight, and could lead to the primal chaos realm. Legend had it that the sun god race had used the blood of the sun god to set it up. This time, in order to save the Son of Light, the entire sun god race had mobilized. Lin Ling followed the few of them forward. He turned back to look at the great hall and discovered that there were still people entering one after another. Furthermore, they were all gods who were not weak. It seemed like the sun god race had indeed invited many strong cultivators. Furthermore, it was likely that many of them had already entered the primal chaos realm. Coupled with the experts of the sun god race themselves, saving the Son of Light this time would probably be another intense battle. However, this had nothing to do with Lin Ling. Lin Ling's goal was to find Taoist Duobao and save him. Following Yang Wei into the screen of light, Lin Ling immediately felt a mysterious force enveloping his body, as if countless universes were flowing around him. Time seemed to have frozen. A moment later, this mysterious feeling disappeared. When he opened his eyes again, an ancient wind blew against his face. He had arrived at the primal chaos realm. The spiritual energy here was even denser and more ancient. Cultivating here was not much slower than cultivating on the 3rd floor. Looking into the distance, ancient mountains and the sky were almost pressing down. All of this showed that this world was incomparably ancient. It was the core of all the universes and also the most ancient universe. At this moment all the gods, including Lin Ling, fell silent. They were constantly sensing their surroundings, and their emotions were also quietly fluctuating. After all, other than Lin Ling, all the gods present had reincarnated. Now that their strength had been restored and they had returned to their homeland, how could they remain indifferent? This primal chaos realm was once a universe that had changed times. The primordial era, the prehistoric era, the ancient era, the era of the gods, and the current era. Divine dynasties, all kinds of legends, they had all originated here. Unfortunately, this once strongest universe was now like a hero in his twilight years. Perhaps it would follow in the footsteps of the divine realm and slowly perish. No wonder all the gods wanted to enter the Dao Tower. They wanted to obtain a new universe to replace the primal chaos realm, and they also wanted to become the masters of the universe. It's the second time. Although Lin Ling didn't have as many emotions as them, it wasn't his first time here. Last time, he had been forcefully brought here by Dipankara Buddha. It was only with the help of Monkey King and Guangchengzi that he was able to escape from the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. Then with the help of the giant ghost, he was able to escape. He wondered how the giant ghost was doing. There was also little Kuan Luan. Ever since it entered the chaos realm, how was it doing? Come this way. At this moment, Yang Wei spoke to the others, and then he was the first to fly forward. Everyone hurriedly followed. After flying for 2 hours, a huge plane appeared in front of them. This plane was so big that it was boundless. Moreover, there were huge rocks on the ground. There were many of them, and they were scattered all over the plane. Upon closer inspection, these weren't rocks but huge bones. Some were human bones, and some were the bones of unknown divine beasts. Unfortunately, these bones were full of scars and had no spiritual energy at all. It was obvious that they had been here for a long time. When Yang Wei and the others landed, a large number of insects flew out from the surrounding bones. They were so frightened that they floated into the distance. This is the windward plane. In the past, the divine wind here was incomparably terrifying. It was the tomb of the gods. Later, the chaos realm deteriorated and aged, causing the divine wind to disappear. Yang Wei knew that many of them were here for the first time, so he explained. The rotten race we are looking for is at the center of the plane. They can sense the changes in the entire plane from there. When the time comes, as long as our sun god race's god passes by the plane, they will inevitably discover us. Attack. Yang Wei continued. Try to prevent them from interfering in this matter. If they refuse, we will attack and kill them. Lord Yang Wei, the rotten race killed your sun god. Why are you still discussing with them? Just kill them. A god asked. Sigh. Yang Wei sighed softly. Now that our sun god is no longer here, all hope is left with the child of light. Before the sun god died, he told us that before the child of light matures, we are not allowed to become enemies with the rotten race. Our only goal now is to save the child of light and take the overall situation into consideration. Hearing this, everyone came to a realization. Lin Ling nodded and continued to move forward with the crowd. His eyes looked into the distance as his soul force quietly gushed out and appeared above the sky, sensing the changes in the chaos realm. Gradually, he sensed a familiar feeling. It was the reincarnation of Taoist myriad treasures. Sure enough, Taoist myriad treasures was imprisoned in the chaos realm. Dipankara Buddha God probably wanted to devour him. Now, Taoist myriad treasures had not awakened the power of the world's will, so his life was not in danger for the time being. Suddenly Lin Ling stopped in his tracks, his pupils constricting. This was because, in addition to sensing Taoist myriad treasures, he also sensed Yu Yu's reincarnation. Although it was very weak, Lin Ling was sure that Yu Yu was here. What's going on? Why did Yu Yu come to the chaos realm? Lin Ling was puzzled, and he was extremely excited. Your Excellency Lin Ling, what's wrong? Yang Wei asked curiously when he saw Lin Ling stop in his tracks. It's nothing. I sensed Taoist myriad treasures because I came here with another purpose, and that was to save Taoist myriad treasures, but he was imprisoned by Dipankara Buddha God. Lin Ling didn't talk about Yu Yu. Instead, he talked about Taoist Master Duobao. I see. Yang Wei clearly knew a thing or two about this matter. He immediately smiled and said, after we settle the matter of the stronghold, we will help you save Taoist myriad treasures. I think that at that time, the sun god race will be attacking the 3 divine gates of White Mountain, so they won't be able to care about Taoist myriad treasures. Lin Ling immediately smiled and nodded. Everyone continued forward. Not long after, a fishy smell appeared in front of them. It was the stronghold of the rotten race. A small town formed from a large lump of mud appeared in front of them. The mud was very tall like a mountain peak. It formed a circle and surrounded the god of the rotten race in the mud, the sun god race. Moreover, the rotten race oversaw the entire plane, so they naturally sensed the arrival of the sun god race. 12-winged Yang Wei. Yang Wei stopped in his tracks and looked indifferently at the small town in front of him. So it's 12-winged Yang Wei. I wonder what you are doing here? A voice came from the small town again, accompanied by a fishy smell that made people feel nauseous. We want to discuss with the rotten race about letting you leave the windward plains. Yang Wei did not hide anything and said directly. Chapter 5083. From afar, it looked like a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. Yang Wei signaled Lin Ling and the others with his eyes, signaling them to be careful. Then he strode toward the gap. As for Lin Ling, who was at the very back of the group, he could clearly sense that there were quite a number of rotten race gods in the small town, and there was even a Saint Universe giant god among them. Fortunately, however, most of them were at the early stage. With such strength, Lin Ling was confident that he could kill them, and he could do it easily. After entering the small town, the stench became even stronger. Insects were flying everywhere, which made Lin Ling and the others frown. Looking around, they didn't see any rotten race gods. They could only see a huge pool at the center of the small town. Bubbles kept coming out of the pool, and white bones were rolling around. These white bones were the huge bones from the plains. Rotten race were here. Come out. Yang Wei stopped and said as he looked around. After a moment of silence, a rumbling sound drifted out. The mud on the ground rolled, and then turned into figures. These people wore dark brown cloaks, and there were insects flying on their bodies. Moreover, Mud and smelly water dripped from their bodies from time to time. It was extremely disgusting. Mud and stinky water were the symbol of the rotten race. When Lin Ling saw them, he was 100% certain that they were from the rotten race. Ha ha ha, 12-winged Yongwei, why are you so stupid? Our rotten god killed the sun god. Why would we help you? Suddenly a sharp voice came. One of the decaying gods slowly took off his cloak to reveal a face as pale as paper. There were worms crawling on his face, making him look very disgusting. However, he looked quite young. Rotten race, do you really want to walk this path to the end? If so, don't blame us for being impolite. Although Yang Wei had guessed it, seeing the rotten god act so arrogantly with his own eyes made him quite angry. Moreover, the rotten god was the murderer of the sun god. With just a dozen of you? The young man from the rotten race sneered. He waved his hand, and with a rustling sound, more mud appeared around him. It continued to tumble, and soon it took the shape of a human. It turned out that there were more rotten race gods in this small town than expected. Since you're in, don't even think about leaving. All the rotten gods extended their arms, and mud poured into the ground from their palms. The mud flowed into the huge pool, causing the water in the pool to soar into the sky. Then it fell on Yang Wei and the others. No, it's the power of the universe. Yang Wei's expression changed as he shouted to everyone, everyone be careful. Don't let the fishy water touch you. Can corrode everything. Everyone work together to break this vortex. Hearing this, everyone raised their heads, erupting with powerful divine abilities to resist the enormous pool in the sky. However, although everyone's strength was strong, they did not dare to use force. They were deeply afraid that after the pool was broken, they would be touched by the fishy water. Therefore, for a time the pool was also slowly falling. Damn it! 12 wings appeared on Yang Wei's back, and he resisted stubbornly. Furthermore, the pond in the sky kept dripping with fishy water, causing Yang Wei to constantly dodge. It was the same for the other gods. They were so angry that their teeth were itching. Ha ha ha, let's see how long you can last. The young rotten raceman kept sneering. Boom! However, at this moment, a fist blasted into the sky. Following that, a giant appeared. Not only did it destroy the pool in the sky with a single punch, it also stained its body with fishy water. However, the fishy water that could corrode everything did not have any effect on the giant's body. That was because while the giant was being corroded, he was also recovering. The speed of recovery was faster than the speed of corrosion. Rotten race, I trust you have been well since we last met. The giant looked down from above, blocking all the fishy water from dripping down. Lin Ling, Yang Wei and the others were overjoyed. Although they were very strong, their physical bodies could not compare to Lin Ling's. He's so strong. Yang Wei's heart thumped. He had heard of Lin Ling's great name and knew that Lin Ling was not weak. However, he did not expect Lin Ling to be so strong. It seemed that he had underestimated Lin Ling not long ago when he valued the gods of Spirit Nation. Lin Ling, it's you. A sharp voice suddenly rang out. The young rotten race god stared at Lin Ling and recognized Lin Ling. Last time you killed my rotten race god. This time you won't be able to escape. That young rotten race god floated up and transformed into a rolling black cloud of mud that pounced on Lin Ling. At the same time, an incomparably terrifying deity energy spread out, reaching 500 billion. This rotten race god was an early-stage Saint Universe giant god. Lin Ling. Yang Wei and the others looked at Lin Ling and shouted. Although they knew that Lin Ling was very strong, Lin Ling was merely a king-level universe giant god. This made them somewhat worried. I'll deal with him. You guys go deal with the others. Lin Ling shouted to Yang Wei. He took a step forward and pounced on that young rotten race god. It's hard to say who won't be able to escape. Lin Ling's deep voice reverberated throughout the entire town. It was as if heaven and earth were falling apart. What was even more frightening was that although Lin Ling looked like a giant, his speed was unimaginably fast. Before that young rotten race god could react, a huge fist had already appeared in front of him. So fast. That rotten race god's eyes narrowed. He didn't even have time to use his techniques before he was hit by Lin Ling's fist. His entire body exploded. Hong! It was as if a huge lump of mud had exploded. Stinking blood and insects splattered everywhere and smashed onto the ground. But very soon, the blood wriggled and condensed into a figure. It was the young rotten race god from before. "You're actually so strong," he cried out in alarm. He knew that he had underestimated Lin Ling. In fact, he had heard of Lin Ling's great name. It was said that he was doing very well in the 3rd level. But he thought that he was a Saint Universe Giant God, and Lin Ling was merely a King-level Universe Giant God. No matter how strong he was, Lin Ling was definitely not his match. Unfortunately, there was a gap between dreams and reality. Now he didn't dare to fight Lin Ling head-on. But just as he finished speaking, a huge foot descended from the sky. It was Lin Ling's attack. Hong! This foot caused the entire town to tremble violently. That young rotten race god couldn't react at all. His entire body was stomped into meat paste, and he turned into nothingness. He could no longer be revived. Saint Universe Giant gods were as weak as clay chickens and pottery dogs in front of Lin Ling. "Young master is dead." The rotten race gods who were in the middle of a great battle all shouted, their eyes filled with disbelief. It was obvious that the young rotten race god's background wasn't small. Now that he was dead, they all panicked. "He's dead so quickly." Yang Wei and the others were in the middle of a great battle with the rotten race god. When they saw Lin Ling finish off his opponent, they all sucked in a cold breath. Lin Ling's strength was simply beyond their expectations. Chapter 5084. Who killed my son? At this time, a whirlpool appeared in the small town's pond, and an old man with a pitch-black body rushed out. This person seemed to have come from somewhere else. Lin Ling stared indifferently at the old man. He was not surprised by the way the old man appeared. Back then, on the 2nd level of the Dao Pagoda, he had joined forces with Yellow Emperor to kill the rotten race. At that time, the rotten race had used this method to arrive. "I killed your son. So what?" Lin Ling said calmly. The old man's furious eyes instantly stared at Lin Ling. When he sensed the aura under Lin Ling's feet, his expression changed greatly. "You dare to trample my son to death? Didn't you see it?" Lin Ling replied. "I want you dead. I want you to turn into a pool of blood forever." The old man roared toward the sky, his aura extremely terrifying. His strength was incomparably strong. He was a middle-stage Saint Universe Giant God. He stretched out his palm, and the black liquid tumbled and turned into a black ball the size of a millstone. A pungent stench gushed out, causing Yang Wei and the others to feel nauseous. Moreover, the godly power in their bodies was tumbling. It seemed to be affected. What is this? What a powerful godly power. It has reached the level of 1,000,000,000,000. He must be an extremely powerful existence among the Saint Universe Giant gods. Yang Wei and the others had solemn expressions. They knew that the old man was not weak. Moreover, they could not help but cover their noses and seal their bodies because the stench was too pungent. It was hard to imagine that the stench could reach such a level when it reached the limit. Bonewood egg. The old man lowered his head and looked at his palm. He seemed to be very satisfied with his masterpiece. He wanted to use this masterpiece to kill Lin Ling, and avenge Lin Ling for killing his son. Of course, he did not lose his calm when he was angry. His son was also very strong, but he was killed by Lin Ling. This showed that Lin Ling was stronger than before. Back then, the rotten race had experts who attacked the 2nd level of the Dao Pagoda, but they were all killed by the 4 emperors led by Lin Ling. This matter had alarmed the rotten god. But at that time, Lin Ling did not have the strength he had now. Die! The old man gently blew at the black ball in his palm. An even thicker stench surged forth. What was even more frightening was that this stench could even affect the souls of gods. Even though Yang Wei and the others had experienced all sorts of illusions and the tempering of samsara and could see through many things, they simply couldn't resist this stench. It was another powerful force that they had experienced in their lives. Its profundity was on par with the illusions or even stronger. It stinks to the extreme, but it is still so powerful. Is this the universe of stinks? Lin Ling's eyes flashed. Then he saw the black ball shooting towards him. He took a step forward and disappeared from where he stood. After dodging the black ball, He immediately attacked the old man. His fist, which was as large as a mountain, came crashing down. However, before the fist could reach the old man, the black ball suddenly appeared in front of Lin Ling and shot towards him again. This black ball concealed a powerful divine power, especially that stench, causing Lin Ling to not dare to use his fist to meet force with force. He didn't know what would happen if the black ball was destroyed. Even if he wasn't afraid, it didn't mean that Yang Wei and the others weren't afraid. Lin Ling's figure disappeared and dodged the black ball again. Such a big body, but so fast. The old man frowned and shouted coldly, "Lin Ling, my bonewood egg can't be dodged. Any attack is useless. Once it is destroyed, all of you will die, ha ha ha." This black ball is indeed strange. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He didn't dare to use his physical body, and if he used his divine power, he couldn't guarantee that he could destroy the black ball. After dodging a few more times, Lin Ling's figure returned to its original size. A dazzling light sword appeared in his hand, and then he slashed at the black ball. "Haha, you don't believe me?" Seeing Lin Ling's actions, the old man laughed even louder. No one knew that the black ball was actually a large universe called the Universe of Stench. If it was destroyed or even attacked, the entire universe would envelop the area. The gods in the universe would be attacked by the great law of stench until they were forcefully killed. Stinky to death. Whoosh! However, at this moment, a dazzling sword slashed and cut the black ball. Then, the entire black ball dissipated like smoke and gradually turned into nothingness. "What? You destroyed my universe with a sword." "Impossible, my universe can't be destroyed at all. If it is destroyed, the universe will be sealed in the area around here." "What sword is that?" the old man exclaimed. He kept thinking and suddenly realized, it's the power of the world's will. The power of the world's will wasn't affected by any power. It was incomparably powerful and could naturally destroy his universe. Back in the netherworld, Lin Ling's sword of faith could even destroy the illusion of the destructive divine mammoth, let alone a god of the rotten race. This Lin Ling clearly doesn't have a high realm, but he has many tricks up his sleeve and is very powerful. It seems that I've underestimated him. The old man wanted to retreat. Although he wanted to kill Lin Ling as soon as possible, he also knew that he wasn't Lin Ling's match. His entire body exploded, turning into countless pieces of sludge that splattered in all directions, gradually disappearing without a trace. He had actually escaped. "You want to escape?" Lin Ling shouted coldly. He looked around and saw that the rotten race gods in the town couldn't stop Yang Wei and the others. He immediately said, "I'll chase after him. You don't have to wait for me." After saying that, his soul power locked onto a fishy water and quickly chased after it. "Lin Ling, you have to be careful." Yang Wei wanted to stop him, but when he thought of Lin Ling's strength, he finally gave up. Then he shouted to everyone, "Everyone, try to kill these rotten race gods as soon as possible and then gather." At this moment, Lin Ling rushed out of the town and quickly flew forward. He also used Pengu's true body and turned into a giant, running on the ground. The whole plain was shaking. Looking from afar, one could see an ancient giant running on the ground. The scene was very spectacular. The rotten race gods have strange methods. I have to be careful. However, when that old man used the black ball and saw that it couldn't kill me, he ran away. This means that the black ball was his strongest trump card. As for his other methods, I don't need to worry about them at all. Lin Ling kept thinking about it as he ran, and his speed increased a notch. Quafu's chasing boots appeared on his legs, and huge flaming footprints appeared on the ground as he stepped on it. In the previous battle, Lin Ling used Pengu's true body, but he didn't fuse with his innate talents. Otherwise, his strength would have increased. After all, after fusing with his innate talents, Lin Ling's divine power would skyrocket. Coupled with his powerful physical strength, it was naturally not a small matter. Of course, the black ball from before was a universe, so Lin Ling didn't use his innate talents easily. He was deeply afraid of being tricked, so he used the sword of faith. Daoist myriad treasure's senses are getting stronger. While running, Lin Ling also sensed Daoist myriad treasure's soul aura. Chapter 5085. I have to kill that old man before he reaches his destination. I don't want to alert the enemy. Lin Ling's face sank. There were countless experts in the Chaos Realm. Before saving Daoist's myriad treasures, it was best not to alert too many experts. His speed suddenly increased as he disappeared into the sky. This Lin Ling's increase in strength is too exaggerated. Furthermore, he has come to the Chaos Realm. I have to inform the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. Dipankara Buddha God has always been interested in Lin Ling, said the old man from the rotten race in front of him. The grudge of his son's death filled his heart, so he knew that he could not die. He had to take revenge. However, with his strength he could not kill Lin Ling. Therefore, he wanted to use the 3 divine gates of White Mountain to kill Lin Ling. We're almost there. Haha, Lin Ling, you are very powerful. You are more powerful than the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. The 3 divine gates of White Mountain will definitely give up many things to capture you in the Chaos Realm. His gaze was fixed in front of him. There was a simple villa with the sound of reading coming from it. He knew that he had arrived because the green lamp villa was set up by the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. There were indomitable experts inside. Your good luck has come to an end. But at that moment, a cold voice came from behind him. A huge net enveloped the old man. Lin Ling. The old man's body trembled as his scalp tingled. He suddenly looked at the villa in the distance and wanted to shout that Lin Ling was here. Rumble. However, he could only hear a deafening roar. The sound enveloped his soul and suppressed him like a huge net. It was a soul power attack. The old man could only sense that 3 huge universes were closing in on him. They kept combining to seal him in the universe and then obliterate him. Universe 3 Extreme Destruction. In the blink of an eye, the old man's soul collapsed. He collapsed with his palms stretched out into the distance as if he had died with a grievance. This was because he was about to inform the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. Unfortunately, he was so close. Behind him, the white-haired man appeared and looked coldly at the old man. With a wave of his right hand, the old man's body turned to dust. However, the white-haired man collected some of it. Fortunately, I made it here in time. The white-haired man was Lin Ling. He secretly felt lucky. After all, if this old man had informed the 3 great divine gates of White Mountain, who knew what kind of trouble would have happened? Then, Lin Ling looked ahead and found that there was a villa there, and the sound of neat reading could be heard. These voices carried a hint of holiness, giving people a feeling that all evil could not invade them. Strange. Lin Ling suddenly frowned. He sensed that there were a large number of scholars in the villa. There were both men and women, but they had no strength at all. They were just like ordinary people. However, there was a mysterious power in their bodies that seemed to be formed from reading books. I've heard that scholars have a firm will and are not afraid of demons and ghosts. They can give birth to a righteous force. This villa is actually cultivating such scholars. Lin Ling wanted to continue probing, but he suddenly withdrew his soul force. This was because he discovered that someone was probing him. At this moment in the villa, an old man wearing a monk's robe looked indifferently into the distance. The corners of his mouth suddenly revealed a smile. It seems that there are people who have lost their way. Then, he closed his eyes again and chanted silently. The sound of Buddha's voice filled the entire villa. All the scholars shook their heads slightly and chanted silently, as if they were immersed in the world of books. In the distance, Lin Ling frowned. He knew that someone had discovered him. The most important thing was that this person was very strong, so strong that he could not see through him. However, he could also sense that Taoist Master Duobao was among them. This meant that if he wanted to take Taoist Master Duobao away, he would have to enter the villa. This person has already noticed me, but I don't know if he has recognized me or not. However, he doesn't seem to have attacked me. Maybe he doesn't know me, and I have a chance to take Taoist Master Duobao away. Then, he will be able to recover. Of course, that person's strength is mysterious and unfathomable. I have to be careful. Lin Ling thought to himself and transmitted his voice to the Four Directions prison. Brother Guangchengzi. Lin Ling, you don't have to say anymore. I know. That's the glazed light Buddha. This Buddha is the great Buddha of medicine. His pure land is the glazed light soil. It's very subtle and dignified. Those who worship the glazed light Buddha will be immune to all diseases. Therefore, he has many disciples. In terms of strength, he can be ranked among the top Buddhas. He is only below the Dipankara Buddha of the past and the Gautama Buddha of the present. Guangchengzi's voice floated over. Hearing this, Lin Ling sucked in a breath of cold air. The chaotic realm was indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. He had encountered such a powerful Buddha just by walking around. If the Dipankara Buddha knew that he had come, it would be difficult for him to escape. But it's fine. This villa is now part of the glazed light soil. The real glazed light Buddha is not here. You still have a chance. Guangchengzi continued. I just don't know the relationship between the glazed light Buddha and the Dipankara Buddha. Whether or not they are related, I have to go to this villa. Lin Ling raised his head and looked at Guangchengzi. Guangchengzi nodded. Go, you might have a chance. Lin Ling nodded. Without disguising himself, he walked towards the villa. He knew that with the glazed light Buddha's strength, even if he disguised himself, it would be useless. When he got closer, the sound of reading could be heard. Lin Ling paused for a moment before he pushed the door open and entered. There was a huge garden in the villa. It was filled with simple old trees. Under the trees in the garden, a large number of students sat on the ground. There were tables in front of them, and they were reading with their eyes closed. Looking at the front of the garden, there was a high platform. An old man wearing a monk's robe was silently chanting. The old man looked very ordinary. Even when he was chanting, there was no fluctuation of divine energy. It was extremely strange. However, Lin Ling did not dare to underestimate him. He just stood there quietly. His soul power quietly spread out and searched among the many students. Then his eyes lit up. He found the Taoist of many treasures. It was just that the old man was there, so Lin Ling did not dare to act rashly. But what surprised Lin Ling was that the old man did not seem to see Lin Ling and was still chanting. How strange! Lin Ling had an impulse to rush over and take the Taoist of many treasures away. However, he felt that everything was not so simple. After watching for a long time, he slowly walked forward. Every step he took was very careful, afraid that he would fall into a trap and be brought into a powerful universe. After all, if he was caught in the chaotic realm, no one would be able to save him. With the strength of the Dipankara Buddha, he could not resist at all. It was not like in the netherworld where he could still resist. However, even when Lin Ling walked forward, he did not notice anything strange. This allowed him to gradually relax, and he quickened his pace as he walked towards Taoist Master of Many Treasures. However, when he reached Taoist Master of Many Treasures, the garden suddenly disappeared, and everyone disappeared. Everything around him was a vast expanse of white. Chapter 5086. Lin Ling, be careful. Now that you're under the control of the glazed light Buddha, you can only act according to his laws. At the same time, Guangchengzi's voice drifted over. Lin Ling cursed under his breath. His gaze landed on the seat. Now that there was only one seat left, it seemed like he had no other choice. He walked forward and sat down on the seat. At the same time, a thick book appeared on the table. It opened, revealing the first page. There were profound words written on it. Although he could read them, he couldn't understand what they meant. How do I do this? Lin Ling frowned. If you want to leave this place, it seems like the only way is to read aloud. Guangchengzi suggested. Lin Ling could only nod. He thought of the scholars in the garden. They were also reading aloud. Could it be that they were also being forced? Without further thought, Lin Ling also began to read aloud. Voices drifted out, seemingly blending into the scholars in the garden. They began to read aloud in unison. The mountain villa was solemn and sacred. Looking from the outside, one could see rays of light shooting up into the sky, sometimes contracting and sometimes expanding. It was a magical sight. However, the recitation seemed to be endless. Lin Ling was still able to maintain his consciousness at the start. However, as he continued to read aloud, a Buddhist light appeared in his soul and continued to strengthen. Not good. Lin Ling has been converted to Buddhism. The glazed light Buddha is treating Lin Ling as an illness. As long as the illness is cured, Lin Ling will lose himself and forget his past and present lives. Converting to Buddhism is a form of purification. Guang Qingzi's voice drifted over, constantly shouting at Lin Ling's soul. However, Lin Ling didn't seem to hear him. Like the scholars around him, he shook his head slightly and continued to read aloud. As for Lin Ling's lifetime of memories and karma, they were also dissipating and gradually disappearing. Converting to Buddhism is not only a matter of heart, but also the disappearance of all karma fetters. The four elements are all void, and one can escape into Buddhism with the void. In order to turn everything into nothingness, Lin Ling not only had to be purified of this life's karma, but also everything in his previous lives had to be purified. All karma, all dust had to be swept clean. Lin Ling, wake up, wake up. Oh no, Lin Ling has been tricked. Guang Chengzi was extremely anxious and went to visit the green-robed Taoist. Unfortunately, the other party only smiled mysteriously and replied, "When it's time to wake up, he will wake up. F***ck your whole family." Guang Chengzi was dumbfounded and cursed in his heart. What kind of situation is this? This Taoist is still acting cool. In the end, he could only look on helplessly. At this moment on the high platform, the old man was still reciting. His voice was solemn and sacred, and it continued to float out. He slowly opened his eyes and glanced at Lin Ling. His lips curled into a smile. Suddenly, his pupils constricted. Above Lin Ling's head, he saw an incomparably huge dense fog rolling about. It was like the great calamity of the universe. Even he was frightened and felt insignificant. The power of the world's will is so huge. He continued to recite, and his speed increased. It was like a storm, purifying the powerful power of the world's will. As time passed, the dense fog that was originally as majestic as a dark cloud became smaller and smaller. There was only a wisp left. The old man's face was a little pale. While he was purifying Lin Ling, he was also using up a lot of energy. However, the power of the world's will was almost purified. The remaining power should not be a concern. The power of the 9 great worlds' wills. It is said that this Lin Ling is ranked 3rd and 4th. His future is bright. Because of the strong karma, although his life is full of ups and downs, he has been able to turn danger into safety time and time again. Unfortunately, such a destiny of the universe is also going to disappear. What a pity, what a pity. The old man sighed inwardly. He was still purifying Lin Ling's karma, including fate, luck, and other things. To a god, strength was the most important thing. But in reality, things hidden in the dark were also very important. For example, fate and luck. Lin Ling was able to turn danger into safety time and time again. This was closely related to Lin Ling's tenacity. Every time he encountered a life or death calamity or great difficulty, he would grit his teeth and endure it. Even if there was no hope, he would still resolutely move forward, never giving up. Besides tenacity, there was another reason, and that was luck. However, everyone had luck. Only those who could firmly grasp it could change their own destiny. Unfortunately, all of this was going to disappear now. Looking at Guang Chengzi, he was even more anxious now. He discovered that the book on Lin Ling's desk could not be finished. Even if he read page by page millions of times, there were still more pages behind. It was like a bottomless pit. And if he did not finish reciting, Lin Ling would not wake up. But after he finished reciting, everything about Lin Ling would disappear. What is this? However, at this moment, the old man's eyes suddenly narrowed. He saw that above Lin Ling's head, a large cloud had suddenly surged out. This cloud was colorful and carried with it a brilliant heavenly might. It was like a cloud of primordial chaos. And in the billowing cloud, a tall and sturdy figure looked like a giant, coldly looking at the old man. With just a glance, the old man felt as if he had fallen into hell. Cold sweat kept breaking out. Impossible to purify, impossible to purify. I never expected that this child would have such a destiny. Perhaps he is the true heir Mia. The old man let out a long sigh. Even if he wanted to destroy Lin Ling, he knew that with his qualifications, he could not do so. He stood up and slowly left. The moment he left, the voices in the mountain villa gradually became softer. In the end, all the students opened their eyes. Some of them were at a loss, while others looked enlightened. They did not move. They remained sitting on the ground, looking at the books on the desk. At the same time, everything that Lin Ling had lost slowly recovered. This shocked Guang Chengzi. He did not understand what was happening. After an unknown period of time, Lin Ling opened his eyes. His eyes were at a loss at first, but gradually became clear. He looked in the direction that the old man had left, deep in thought. That glazed light Buddha kept purifying me. In my first life he was finally defeated. Lin Ling muttered to himself. He could sense that after the colorful cloud appeared, there was a giant standing in the clouds. He was the god of creation. Buddhas could not purify the god of creation. This was the reason why the glazed light Buddha had left. Who would have thought that my previous life would appear again? Lin Ling muttered to himself again. Now, there were not many people who knew that he was the god of creation in his previous life. Among them, the one who was most familiar with him was Shangyi. After all, he and Shangyi had entered the Tao realm at the same time, and his previous life had been discovered. The glazed light Buddha was probably the first outsider to know about it. Once this secret was known, who knew what kind of trouble would ensue? Chapter 5087. Lin Ling's entire body trembled as he erupted with a powerful aura, shattering the dagger. Then his left hand appeared, holding a large amount of memories as he ruthlessly grabbed at the youth's head. You're courting death. The youth's face was sinister, like a fierce tiger that wanted to devour Lin Ling. But soon, his expression gradually relaxed, and then he revealed a pained expression. In the end, his eyes were blank, as if he was running a long distance in time. Lin Ling, why are you here? As Lin Ling waited quietly, the youth finally raised his head and looked at Lin Ling with an excited expression, revealing a smile. You're back. Lin Ling was happy for Taoist myriad treasures, knowing that he had recovered his memories. Didn't I die? Why am I here? Is this the netherworld? Taoist myriad treasures had many mysteries in his heart as he raised his head and asked Lin Ling, let's leave this place first. Lin Ling left with Taoist myriad treasures. As Taoist myriad treasures moved forward, his appearance was constantly changing, gradually returning to his usual appearance. The surrounding students were also looking at Lin Ling and Taoist myriad treasures with suspicious expressions, but they didn't care. On the way, Lin Ling told Taoist myriad treasures about what had happened after entering the netherworld. When Taoist myriad treasures heard this, he was shocked, his eyes filled with disbelief. You're saying that you fought your way out of the netherworld and brought Yellow Emperor and the others? Taoist myriad treasures finally asked in horror. Lin Ling smiled and nodded, saying, all right, now enter my universe. If you don't understand anything, ask Yellow Emperor. I will inform Yellow Emperor and the others to find your Tao return to heaven and bring you into the Tao Pagoda. If one wanted to enter the Tao Pagoda, they had to have Tao return to heaven. Only then could they reach the Tao Pagoda from Lin Ling's universe. Then, Lin Ling released his universe and brought it inside. He set off alone. The plains were vast and boundless, but not a single person could be seen. There were only huge skeletons on the ground. A gust of wind blew over, fluttering Lin Ling's white hair. His eyes looked into the distance. He didn't know if the sun god race had started to attack the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. After all, he must have spent a lot of time studying in the villa. If we follow the plains, we should be able to reach the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. Last time I escaped from the hands of the 3 divine gates of White Mountain. I thought that I would never come near them again. Who would have thought that I would be here again? That's Dipankara Buddha's territory. We must be careful. Lin Ling muttered to himself. He sprinkled the powder left behind by the rotten race old man around his body, pretending to be a rotten race god. Although he didn't know if he could hide it completely, it was still better than nothing. After a few hours, a deafening explosion finally came from the front. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting apart. It was incomparably terrifying. Rumble. Gusts of violent wind blew over. Even though Lin Ling's physical body was powerful, he still felt like he couldn't stand steadily. This meant that the battle ahead was incomparably intense, and the power it formed was beyond imagination. Lin Ling didn't dare to get too close. He took a detour from the side and came to a huge mountain peak, looking into the distance. He saw an earth-shattering battle erupting in the sky and the earth in front of him. An incomparably dazzling sun divine light descended. Its power was so strong that it could destroy countless universes. The sun divine light clearly came from the sun god race. Wherever he looked, a large number of golden-haired gods with wings on their backs were activating their ultimate moves. And behind them, the experts that the sun god race had invited were also helping. On the other side, there was no one to be seen. There were only 8 mountain-like Buddhas. These Buddhas were also covered in golden light, and there was a lamp burning above their heads. They were very solemn and sacred. However, the power of these Buddhas was terrifying. With a sweep of their huge palms, hundreds of thousands of units of divine power erupted. Even if it was a powerful universe, in the face of that giant palm, it would be instantly destroyed. Moreover, one of the even larger Buddhas swept its palm, and hundreds of thousands of units of divine power descended, causing the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. The primal chaos realm also lost its light. This was a true battle between gods. Perhaps this was also the most ancient battle in the primal chaos realm. So strong. Lin Ling's expression was solemn. He thought that he was already very strong, but compared to these ancient gods he was still very weak. What are these Buddhas? Why are they so strong? Right when I escaped from the 3 divine gates of White Mountain last time, I saw gods and Buddhas chanting scriptures. Could it be that these Buddhas were formed by countless gods and Buddhas? Lin Ling's eyes kept flashing. Looking through the Buddhas, he could vaguely see a light floating in the distance. There was a figure in the light. Although he couldn't see the figure's appearance clearly, Lin Ling could guess that that person was probably the Son of Light. The Son of Light was the only successor of the Sun God clan. For him, the Sun God clan would definitely go all out to save the Son of Light. And Dipankara Buddha had the Son of Light appear here. Could it be that his purpose was to destroy the ancient races of the universe? The 12-winged Yang God is over there, and the 12-winged Yang Wei, the great god of Spirit Nation. Thinking of this, Lin Ling kept staring at the battlefield, and gradually, he saw familiar faces. Ning Qingxin? Then Lin Ling saw another acquaintance. He found that Ning Qingxin's strength was very strong, even stronger than Lin Ling's. She was teaming up with someone to fight against a Buddha. The person who teamed up with Ning Qingxin was an old man with 24 wings behind him. His strength was extremely tyrannical. However, such a powerful combination was only able to block one Buddha. There's no chance at all. If I can find the place where the gods and Buddhas are chanting scriptures, I might have a chance to break it. Lin Ling's eyes flickered, and he ran in another direction. Of course, if he could think of this, the Sun God clan must have thought of this as well. However, they still attacked from the front. This meant that there was no way around, and even if there was, it was not something they could get close to. But now it seemed that other than attacking from the side, there was no other way. Lin Ling continued to move forward along the mountain range. Time slowly passed, but Lin Ling still did not gain anything. Suddenly, Lin Ling detected a fishy smell. He quickly sped up and saw a group of people hurrying ahead. These people were all wearing large cloaks, and their bodies were full of a fishy smell. The gods of the rotten race. Lin Ling was secretly shocked and also curious as to why they would appear here. Then he quickly flew over. At the same time, the group of people also saw Lin Ling. They were all silent, as if they were investigating Lin Ling. Lin Ling had the aura of the old man from the rotten race. He did not know if he could hide it from them. "You are not from the rotten race," suddenly someone said coldly, causing all the rotten race people to be on guard. Chapter 5088. If you keep talking nonsense, you'll die. Lin Ling stood in place and said coldly, "My lord, it's my fault. It's my fault." The god who had been hit by Lin Ling's palm hurriedly got up and kowtowed to Lin Ling. Lin Ling did not say anything and just stood there quietly. He had already changed into a black cloak, so no one could see his appearance. The rotten gods no longer looked at Lin Ling and continued on their way. Lin Ling followed behind. He secretly felt lucky. Fortunately, he had made the first move. Otherwise, he would have been exposed. However, the situation was not good because the powder left behind by the old man was dissipating. Who knew how long it would last? Fortunately, they did not walk for long before a cave appeared in front of them. The cave looked very ordinary and did not have any divine essence fluctuations. However, when Lin Ling and the others approached, a voice was heard. Amiba. Rotten race, why are you approaching Burning Heart Mountain? We have something to report. One of the rotten gods said. Someone is attacking the villa and seems to have taken away Taoist Master of Many Treasures. Taoist Master of Many Treasures. Hearing this, the voice that came from the cave became more serious. Go in. Under the voice, the rotten gods entered one after another. Lin Ling was the last to enter. He could clearly feel a powerful soul power fall on him and investigate everything about him. Lin Ling immediately knew that the rotten aura on his body was getting weaker and weaker. It had attracted the attention of some people. However, Lin Ling did not do anything. He continued to move forward as if he did not feel anything. Fortunately, the soul power might not be too familiar with the rotten race. In the end, it did not do anything to Lin Ling. Lin Ling also discovered that the owner of the voice was the mountain. Lin Ling followed the crowd. After passing through the magnificent mountain, endless Buddhist light appeared in front of them. It descended from the sky and illuminated the earth. Everything here was serene, solemn, and sacred. Only the endless Buddhist chants floated out. He snuck in. Lin Ling was overjoyed. He then looked at the Buddhist light in the sky with disdain. Dipankara Buddha God represented Buddha. But he was with the dirtiest rotten race. How ironic! As they continued forward, Lin Ling took advantage of the fact that the people in front were not paying attention to him to leave the group and continue exploring. Not long after, he saw a large number of Buddhas sitting cross-legged at the foot of a mountain range. They seemed to be silently chanting something. Buddhist light rushed out from their bodies and condensed in the sky. Could it be that they are the ones controlling those great Buddhas? Lin Ling secretly guessed. His eyes swept across and he realized that behind the Buddhas, there was a large amount of light floating. There were so many of them that they looked like pearls. Upon closer inspection, it was a sarira, and the light emanating from these sariras actually fused into the Buddhist chants of the Buddhas. From the looks of it, the Buddhas were only controlling the great Buddha, but it was the sariras that gave the great Buddha their power. Good treasure. Lin Ling licked his lips. Right now, he could be considered to be poor, and he just happened to need treasures to cultivate. Die. Lin Ling also noticed that the Buddhas sitting cross-legged were not very strong. He immediately activated his soul power and enveloped all the Buddhas, wanting to kill them. However, what surprised Lin Ling was that after his soul power sealed them, the Buddhas did not react at all. It was as if they had entered a state of meditation, and were not aware of anything happening in the outside world. What a bunch of idiotic bald donkeys! Lin Ling immediately scolded them with a smile. He shot forward and stared at the floating sariras. Then he collected all of them. Looking at the corpses all over the ground, Lin Ling pondered for a moment. He used the power of divinity to lift all of them up and maintain the appearance of silently chanting the Buddhist chants. Although this could not be hidden for long, at least it could be done. Next, Lin Ling continued to explore. Not long after, he was shocked to discover that there were so many Buddhas nearby that it was beyond his imagination. He did not expect that those mighty great Buddhas would need so many Buddhas to control them. Fortunately, other than the Buddhas, there were no other powerful divinities. Go to hell. Lin Ling decided to kill them all. He activated the Pangareel body and punched out in a large area. Then, he collected a large number of sariras. He was incomparably excited. If this continued, he would not lack the treasures he needed to break through to the next realm. He continued to plunder and kill the bald donkeys along the way. In the end, Lin Ling was too lazy to waste his energy. He did not use his fists or soul power. He just relied on the tyrant song sword. It was as if he was cutting chives. He killed one after another. It was simple and convenient. However, the number of Buddhas was also beyond his imagination. Lin Ling killed for 2 hours and still had not killed all of them. On the contrary, he had obtained a large number of Sariras. At the same time, in the sensational battlefield, the originally majestic and domineering Buddhas began to weaken. Finally, a great Buddha fell. This sudden change undoubtedly raised the morale of the sun god race. They had been fighting for half a day and finally a great Buddha fell. What happened? One of the divinities with 36 wings frowned and said, "My lord, has the power of the great Buddha been exhausted?" Someone said happily. That powerful god shook his head, "Impossible, because these great Buddhas have the great salvation Buddha's light. Their power is endless. Unless we have the strength to kill them, it's impossible." Then why did the great Buddha fall? The people of the sun god race were very curious. That god looked into the distance and suddenly smiled faintly. It seems that someone has found their burning heart mountain and destroyed it, causing the great Buddha to be destroyed from the inside. Thinking of this, he became excited and roared, "People of the sun god race, attack with all your strength and support those who are helping us. Kill." After receiving the order, the morale of the people of the sun god race more than doubled. They erupted with all their strength and continuously destroyed the great Buddha. While their morale was greatly boosted, the 3 divine gates of White Mountain were a little chaotic. The powerful gods in charge of the battlefield were looking ahead solemnly. Someone has entered the burning heart mountain. Suddenly, someone shouted in a low voice, "Find him and kill him." Amitabha. More than 10 huge Vajras appeared and flew into the distance. At this moment, Lin Ling was plundering treasures and was in an extremely good mood. However, he soon sensed a powerful force attacking him. Looking up, he could see 18 huge palms pressing down. So fast. Lin Ling knew that he had been discovered, and that the other party wanted to kill him. "Let's fight, I'm not afraid of you." Lin Ling activated the Panga true body and did not retreat, because there were still many Buddhas chanting scriptures and controlling the great Buddha. If a battle happened here, it would definitely affect them. The tyrannical song sword appeared in his hand, and Lin Ling looked at the sky and slashed out. Bang bang bang. However, what shocked Lin Ling was that the palms pressing down from the sky were incomparably powerful. The golden light was resplendent and actually blocked his powerful physical strength. "Vile spawn, why aren't you waiting to be captured?" Chapter 5089. The gigantic Buddha's palm shone with golden light as it descended from the sky, suppressing Lin Ling. Lin Ling soared into the sky, using tyrannical song to resist those metallic palms. Lin Ling also realized that the battle between him and these gods had affected the earth. Those Buddhas who were chanting Buddhist scriptures were swaying left and right from the impact. Naturally, the gods in the sky saw this scene, and they were all fuming with anger. But they also knew that if they did not kill that rat sh*t, the entire heart-burning mountain would be destroyed. Good timing. Lin Ling's huge sword kept resisting the huge palms, creating an incomparably huge airflow. Amitabha, evil creature, die. The Vajra in the sky roared, glaring at the earth. "You're still too weak." Seeing that it was hard to resist, Lin Ling also fused his innate talents, combining the powerful godly energy and the power of his fleshly body. His body, which was originally suppressed, actually started to counterattack. What's going on? This person is actually so strong. Is he a Saint Giant Universe God? And he's a middle stage Saint Giant Universe God. No, he's only a king. The 18 Vajras exclaimed, feeling a huge impact that soared into the sky, making it very difficult for them to resist. However, they were all saint-level giant universe gods. Even when they joined forces, they were still defeated by that god. This made them curious as to who that god was. After fusing my innate talents, my strength has become even stronger. Now I'm at my peak. Lin Ling felt an endless amount of power gushing out, making him feel like he could split the sky and earth and tear apart any universe. After fusing his innate talents, his godly energy was in the 400 billion range. In terms of physical strength, Panga's true body was also in the 400 billion range, and with the addition of Panga's last move, it could be doubled, reaching 800 billion range. Moreover, his speed was doubled. His godly energy was invincible for a short period of time, and he had the strongest Pangu's attack. All the powerful trump cards were unleashed, as if Lin Ling had been accumulating for tens of millions of years. At this moment they all slashed toward the sky. Rumble! The 18 palms began to sway and cracks gradually appeared on them. It was as if gold had been shattered, and they suddenly collapsed. In the sky, the pupils of the 18 huge Vajras condensed, and their faces suddenly became ferocious. 18 Vajra subduing demons. They roared loudly and sat down cross-legged in the air. They silently chanted Buddhist scriptures, causing the golden light around their bodies to resplendent. The sound of Buddha descended. These Buddhist chants lingered together, transforming into a huge golden Buddha bowl that came crashing down from the sky. This Buddha bowl was clearly extraordinary and possessed remarkable abilities. Not only did it possess an extremely powerful divine force, it even formed its own universe. Amazing! Lin Ling raised his head, and his pupils contracted. If he had been an ordinary king-level giant universe god, or even an ordinary saint-level giant universe god, he would have been wiped out by now. Are you the only one with a big universe? Lin Ling roared and activated the Lin Ling universe to resist the golden Buddha bowl that was smashing down from the sky. At the same time he also rushed up and attacked the golden Buddha bowl, ignoring the divine power. Evil creature, get down! The 18 Vajras roared together, and another palm came crashing down once again. If not for the golden Buddha bowl, Lin Ling would have been able to resist them. However, the combination of the Buddha's palm and the golden Buddha bowl formed an extremely terrifying power, causing Lin Ling to be unable to gain the upper hand for the time being. You bunch of bald donkeys? I've been invincible since I returned from the rainforest. I've destroyed all the big universes, and even the netherworld has been turned upside down by me. You guys are not qualified to suppress me. Lin Ling unleashed his full strength. In fact, Lin Ling was not afraid of these Vajras at all if they fought one-on-one. The main thing was that when they joined forces they could form a powerful force. When the two sides collided for the second time, the storm formed was even more terrifying, causing the entire burning heart mountain to tremble. A large number of Buddhas were drowned by the storm and died in the end. Looking at the battle outside, 3 of the 8 Buddhas had already fallen, and the 4th one had cracks all over his body. Why haven't you dealt with that cockroach yet? The gods guarding the battlefield were all livid as they watched the Buddhas being killed. They were extremely anxious. It seems that the god who sneaked into Burning Heart Mountain is not weak. A thin old monk said, Ba, I'll go and help them. Envoy Jingtan, sorry to trouble you. All the gods bowed to the old monk. Everyone, work harder and help the people who entered Burning Heart Mountain. On the sun god race's side, they knew that the 3 divine gates of White Mountain had discovered something. Now they could only fight for the shortest time to kill the Buddhas, so that they could help the people in Burning Heart Mountain. Who is helping us so much? Many powerful gods were also secretly guessing at this. Ning Qingxin's eyes flickered, and she suddenly guessed, could it be him? Ning Qingxin, do you know who it is? An old man with 24 wings looked at Ning Qingxin and said, I'm not sure, but in terms of ability I think it's Lin Ling. Although he's not the strongest, he's very powerful and can create miracles time and time again. Ning Qingxin guessed. Lin Ling, the host of the world's will. The old man's expression changed, and he said with a smile, if it's really him, it seems that our sun god race owes him a big favor. Stop talking. Hurry up and destroy the Buddhas and save the Son of Light. Now, the Son of Light is being sealed by Dipankara Buddha himself. He won't be happy to deal with Lin Ling otherwise, he'll definitely do it himself. Ning Qingxin said again. Back then, she saw Dipankara Buddha take away Lin Ling with her own eyes, and Lin Ling returned after that. So, she knew that Dipankara Buddha must want to kill Lin Ling as soon as possible. While they were fighting, Lin Ling was still fighting against the golden Buddha bowl. He looked calm, but the giant Vajra in the sky looked anxious, as if it was extremely difficult to stop Lin Ling. The golden Buddha bowl was also frozen in mid-air, like a huge island that couldn't be suppressed at all. The longer this drags on, the more disadvantageous it is for me. It seems that it's better to escape as soon as possible. After resisting for a while, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He was a little afraid of Dipankara Buddha, so he used his killer move again. Universe 3 Extremes Break. Now that Lin Ling's soul power was several times stronger than before, the Universe 3 Extremes Break he used could even kill a saint-level universe giant god. An incomparably terrifying network soared into the sky, passed over the golden Buddha bowl, and sealed the 18 Vajras. At this moment, the Vajras were chanting silently. Buddhist sounds were constantly coming out of their mouths, condensing into Buddhist power to suppress Lin Ling. But at this moment the fierce soul power arrived. Before it even got close, they already felt a huge pressure. Ba! Everyone be careful! A Vajra roared, wanting to avoid it. However, once he retreated, the pressure would definitely fall on the other Vajras. And if everyone avoided it, Lin Ling would also be able to escape. Fight! He's just a monster. Evil can't prevail over good. If we don't go to hell, who will? For the peace of the universe. Chapter 50-90. Huge cosmic rays shot over, forming a dense network that was airtight. Then they passed through their bodies. Then something terrible happened. Despite their powerful soul power, they couldn't fight against the three extremes of the universe. Break. Mahayana Buddhism. Some of the Vajra's souls were collapsing, but they were also mumbling to themselves. They all discovered that this terrifying soul force attack was actually a Buddhist technique. Bang bang bang. Their souls continued to explode and turn into ashes, leaving only 18 golden Buddhas floating in the sky. Without the support of the Buddhist voice, the huge golden Buddha bowl seemed to have lost control and slowly fell. Get lost. Lin Ling dodged the falling golden Buddha bowl and turned into a giant. He held the golden Buddha bowl and threw it into the distance. Rumble. The golden Buddha bowl was like a golden disc flying along the ground. Everywhere it passed, a large number of Buddhas were killed and destroyed. Everywhere it passed, mountains collapsed. There was nothing it couldn't destroy. Rumble. In the outside world, the battle was also affected. Another Buddha collapsed. No one attacked it and it collapsed directly. In this way, there were only 4 Buddhas left. And there was still one Buddha that was on the verge of collapse. At this moment, Lin Ling didn't know what was happening in the outside world. He knew that he couldn't stay here for long. He returned to his usual size, activated the Kwafu sun-chasing boots, and shot into the distance along the ground. And just as he left, an old man in a monk's robe appeared. He looked at the motionless Vajras in the sky and then at the destroyed ground and closed his eyes. Ba! What a sin, what a sin! After saying that, he opened his eyes and looked into the distance. With a step he chased after Wang Xian. His speed was like a stream of light, incomparably fast. He put his palms together and sat cross-legged. Behind him a Buddhist light appeared. The Buddhist light also illuminated the scene of a large number of Buddhas, silently chanting Buddhist scriptures. This was his universe. He was like a supreme Buddha chasing after Lin Ling. Lin Ling instantly sensed a powerful force behind him. He said in shock, "Look at that power, it's probably a god-level universe giant god. With my current strength, I can't fight against it." He looked ahead and saw countless Buddhas sitting cross-legged. Then, without saying a word, he slashed out and reaped the lives of many Buddhas. After looting their relics, he continued to fly forward. He knew that he couldn't fight against that god. But before that, he had to do his best to help the battle in the outside world. Die! Lin Ling didn't show the slightest mercy to those Buddhas. Perhaps Buddha was benevolent, but not all Buddhas were like that. At the very least, the 3 divine sects of White Mountain were not like that. What a sin, what a sin! Behind him, the Buddhist god kept closing in on Lin Ling, but he wouldn't be able to catch up in a short period of time. He could only watch as Lin Ling slaughtered the Buddhist gods. It made him sigh constantly as he recited the Rebirth Sutra in his heart. As the chase continued, it was unknown how many Buddhas and gods were killed by Lin Ling. The Buddhas in the outside world continued to collapse. In the end, only one Buddha was left holding up the fort. However, if all 8 Buddhas were present, they could still suppress the Solar God clan. If there was only one Buddha, Even if it was at its peak, it wouldn't be able to resist the siege of so many people. At this moment in Burning Heart Mountain, the powerful Buddha had caught up with Lin Ling. He didn't do anything. The Buddha's light shone, enveloping Lin Ling in it. Lin Ling suddenly felt that he had entered a Buddha's world. When he looked up, he couldn't see anything. He could only see gods and Buddhas reciting Buddhist scriptures. The voices suppressed him from all directions, as if they wanted to beat Lin Ling back to his original form. The power of the universe is very strong. It's probably from the 6 realms great universe or even the 5 realms. My Lin Ling universe can't resist it. My divine power and physical strength can't resist it either. Trapped in the Buddha's world, Lin Ling's face was solemn. He thought quickly and knew that the only way was to use the sword of faith. Back in the destructive divine mammoth, Lin Ling's sword of faith could break through the illusion. He wondered how it would be in the chaotic realm. Good. Karma is a cycle. Is it fate? At this moment, outside the endless Buddha's light, an old man looked ahead and recited Buddhist scriptures. He seemed to want to beat Lin Ling back to his original form. In the Buddha's world, even if you are a great sage, you can't escape from the 5 Fingers Mountain. He slowly closed his eyes. In the outside world, the Solar God clan was still attacking the last Buddha. However, they found that this Buddha was extremely tenacious. It seems that the person who helped us is suppressed. Someone from the Solar God clan said immediately, "That's right. The previous Buddhas collapsed, and some couldn't recover after being attacked. However, this Buddha can continue to recover. Although it can't resist the attacks of so many of us, it also means that the person who helped us has reached the limit." He has reached his limit. More people nodded. Everyone from the Solar God clan, remember this day, remember this moment, and remember the person who helped us. In the future, that person will forever be the benefactor of our Solar God clan. An old man from the Sun God race with 36 wings said in a dignified manner, "We will remember." Everyone from the Solar God clan nodded. "Break him." Then the elder with 36 wings was the first to pounce on the Buddha and burst out with a terrifying attack. Rumble. That Buddha finally couldn't hold on any longer, and was forcefully torn apart. This was also the first Buddha that they had broken without Lin Ling's help. After the 8 Buddhas were torn apart, the expressions of the gods in the distance changed drastically. They began to retreat. After all, they couldn't resist the attacks of the Solar God clan. Of course, they didn't expect the 8 Buddhas to fail. Otherwise, Dipankara Buddha would have asked the leaders of the White Mountain, Burning Heart, and Lamp Heart Divine Gates to help. Son of Light. Everyone from the Solar God clan looked ahead. There was a huge light screen there, and a young man was trapped inside. The young man's expression was normal as he looked indifferently at the arrival of the Solar God clan. This Son of Light was indeed the son of the Sun God. Even when life and death were close, he could still remain calm. However, at this moment a smile appeared on his face. "Dipankara Buddha, I'm about to escape. Your show is over." Rumble. As he said this, endless sun divine light surged out of his body and attacked the seal around him. After the Solar God clan in the distance arrived, they all burst out with all their strength and attacked the light to help the Son of Light. "Amitba, Son of Light, your life is not over. After escaping this time, there will be a catastrophe in the world. Alas, you have done your best. Unfortunately, the world is full of suffering, and we can't help but escape the sea of suffering." Chapter 5091. Suddenly, Dipankara Buddha's eyes lit up as if he had seen something. His expression instantly became angry. "So it's Lin Ling's doing. I didn't seal him back then, and now it's karma." Sigh. He stood up, took a step and disappeared on the spot. Just as he disappeared on the distant land, the young man shrouded in Buddha's light opened his eyes. Has he abandoned me? He spent so much effort to refine me into his Buddha's light. Why did he give up so quickly? Unless he met someone more worthy than me. The young man was the Son of Light. He could clearly sense that the seal was continuing to weaken. He estimated that he would be completely free in 30 minutes. He guessed that Dipankara Buddha's target had changed, and that target was obviously more attractive than him. Amitabha. On the other side, the old man was still silently chanting Buddha's voice, sealing Lin Ling with the power of the great universe. But at this moment he heard a voice. Amitabha Dipankara Buddha. I will continue to seal this boy so that he can't escape from the 32 small phases sky, the universe of Buddhas. The old man immediately replied. The person who had spoken to him earlier was Dipankara Buddha. Dipankara Buddha had also instructed him to keep a close eye on Lin Ling. Envoy Cleansing Altar was very confident in this because his great universe was invincible. After it was sealed, it was difficult for any force to break it. Whoosh! But just as he thought this, a dazzling light shot out. The surface of the endless Buddha's light flashed like lightning and thunder, and a white crack appeared. Then the crack cracked and shattered, revealing a big hole. It was as if the universe had been blasted apart, causing Envoy Cleansing Altar's expression to change drastically. In the blink of an eye, he saw a white-haired young man walk out, holding a dazzling light sword in his hand. His hair was white, and his expression was cold. On the sword, Envoy Cleansing Altar could clearly sense a powerful faith power. It should be known that the Buddha's power was condensed from millions of incense, but the faith power was a power that was not weaker than the Buddha's power. It's the power of the world will. Vile spawn. You're actually the host body of the world will. The envoy of the pure altar opened his eyes wide and continued to recite the Buddhist scriptures. His heart also felt as if it was about to explode. This was because he thought that it was just an ordinary god who was causing trouble in Burning Heart Mountain. He did not expect it to be the host body of the world's will. And the person who rushed out was Lin Ling. He didn't stop and randomly chose a direction to rush out. Lin Ling. However, just as he turned around, a cold shout was heard. When he turned around, he saw a thin and weak old man wearing a gray monk robe standing in the sky. This old man's skin was dry and his face was fleshless. He looked extremely ordinary. At this moment he was glaring furiously at Lin Ling. He was none other than Dipankara Buddha God. How could Dipankara Buddha not be angry? He had finally caught the Son of Light and almost refined him into one of the light of Buddha. However, a piece of rat poop had spoiled the whole pot of soup. Most importantly, this person was his old enemy Lin Ling. At that time, when he found out that Lin Ling had died, he felt a wave of pain in his heart because he still wanted to devour Lin Ling's world will. But who knew that many years later, he received news that Lin Ling had been resurrected and had dominated the third floor of the Tao Pagoda. Unfortunately, it was difficult for him to enter that place. He could only hope that the 3 divine gates of White Mountain would go in and capture him. Now there was no need for him to capture him. Lin Ling was already here. Haha, old friend, long time no see. Lin Ling's heart beat violently, but he smiled politely on the surface. He never expected that Dipankara Buddha God would come. Could it be that the envoy of the pure altar had informed him? However, the envoy of the pure altar did not know who Lin Ling was at first. Only in the end, when Lin Ling used the power of the world will, did the other party guess his identity. His identity was revealed. This meant that it was not the envoy of the pure altar who told Dipankara Buddha God, but Dipankara Buddha God himself. Old friend. Hearing Lin Ling's words, even the staunch Dipankara Buddha God was boiling with anger at this moment. Don't be angry. Shouldn't Buddhas refrain from anger? Lin Ling smiled. Upon hearing that, Dipankara Buddha God closed his eyes and constantly recited Buddhist scriptures to suppress the impulse in his heart. The expression of the cleansed altar emissary beside him changed slightly. He had known Dipankara Buddha God for many years, but he had rarely seen him angry. Even when White Mountain was attacked by powerful gods and tens of thousands of Buddha gods were killed or injured, Dipankara Buddha God had never been angry. The only time he was angry seemed to be during the battle with Gautama Buddha God. Now it was the second time. He could not help but look at Lin Ling. He was very curious about who this man was and how he could make Dipankara Buddha God so angry. Lin Ling, you've come to the Chaos Realm again. This time you won't be able to escape. Dipankara Buddha God opened his eyes and said coldly, "Don't be so impulsive. We're old acquaintances. Why do we have to fight every time we meet?" Lin Ling sighed. He looked calm on the surface but was very nervous. Last time, it was because of the help of Guangchengzi and the others that he managed to escape by surprise. This time Dipankara Buddha God would definitely be prepared. If he wanted to escape, the difficulty would probably increase by 100 times. Rumble. However, at this moment a huge energy wave struck. The entire burning heart mountain shook. Countless Buddhas were affected and countless were killed or injured. The sky was torn apart, and it was as if the entire burning heart mountain was blasted apart. Sunlight shone in and it was incomparably dazzling. Within the resplendent golden sunlight, countless gods descended. It was the sun god race. Son of light. Dipankara Buddha God's expression turned ugly. The son of light had completely escaped. This person had inherited the mantle of the solar god and was extremely powerful. Dipankara Buddha God. A white-clothed youth walked over with a group of people from the sun god race. The youth's voice seemed calm, but there was a hint of anger mixed within. Linling, it's really you. Beside him, exclamations were also heard. Ningqingxin, the 12-winged sun god, Yang Wei, and the others were all looking at Linling. So it was Mr. Linling who helped me. Here I thank you. I will repay this great kindness in the future. The young man called Son of Light also stared at Linling and smiled politely. Obviously, he also knew who had helped him at the most critical moment. If it weren't for Linling, he definitely wouldn't have been able to escape today. Although he was one of the 9 stars of the universe and Linling was the host of the 9 Great World Wills, they were mutually exclusive. However, when they fought, who knew when they would come? At least for now, Linling was a friend and not an enemy. That was enough. Ningqingxin. Linling was also staring at the Solar God clan. After seeing Ningqingxin, he couldn't help but smile happily. Then he saw the 12-winged sun god and the others. Finally, his gaze fell on the great god of Spirit Nation in the crowd. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.